Lu Chen's eyes fell on Long Yao, and a hint of cunning flashed across his pupils. Lu Chen coughed lightly and said, "Miss Long Yao, don't you think fate is unfair?" Long Yao looked at Lu Chen in shock, not understanding what he wanted to say. Lu Chen's eyes gradually narrowed and he complained for Long Yao. "There are so many people in the Long family, but Long Chen just let you take care of my daily life. As the granddaughter of the elder of the Long family, don't you have any complaints in your heart?" Long Yao's eyes were blurred and she lowered her head. Her dissatisfaction with the family leader's decision was magnified by Lu Chen. "Yes, why is it her? Couldn't it be someone else?" Lu Chen was a little surprised. He didn't catch any anger in Long Yao's expression, but only helpless melancholy. She seemed to have never hoped to change her destiny one day, and seemed to have regarded this as the norm. Lu Chen continued. "Miss Long Yao, don't you think you are pathetic? You are obviously the grandson of the Long family, but you don't even have the ability to decide your own destiny?" "Not at all. Grandpa loves me very much, and everyone is very kind to me." Long Yao looked at Lu Chen with a blank look on her face, her nose wrinkled slightly and she said, "Master Lu Chen, why are you telling me? Are you trying to sow discord between me and my uncle? I won't be easily fooled by you." Well, Lu Chen was a little embarrassed. Although Long Yao sometimes seemed not very smart, he was still quite smart when it came to the critical moment. It seemed that there was no hope of convincing Long Yao. Lu Chen let out a very soft sigh, and then took out the shoe-breaking pill given by Long Baiyu from the system space. The white jade box exuded a strong breath of true energy. The moment Lu Chen opened the jade box, the faint scent of medicine overflowing from the jade box. Blue waves rippled in Long Yao's clear water eyes, and she said softly, "What are you doing? You will cause the power of the void-breaking pill to be lost." Lu Chen glanced at Long Yao indifferently, and then took out the void-breaking pill from the jade box. This void-breaking pill was enough to allow the powerful martial god to break through a small realm. For Lu Chen, if he could refine it and break through to demigods, it would not be a problem. But the problem is that he doesn't dare to easily try to refine the void-breaking pill. Compared with using the destiny value to break through, the cost of refining the elixir is too huge, and you may go crazy if you are not careful. If Lu Chen wanted to refine the void-breaking pill, he could only refine it in the state of transforming into a dragon. Letting Lu Chen refine the 9th grade elixir, the void-breaking pill, was simply a waste of natural resources. Long Yao couldn't help but stretched out her bare hands to snatch the void-breaking pill from Lu Chen's hand, but Lu Chen sidestepped past her, preventing her from succeeding. Lu Chen looked at Long Yao playfully and said jokingly, "What do you mean? This shoe-breaking pill was given to me by Long Baiyu, do you still want to take it back?" Long Yao's eyes were full of resentment, but he did not answer directly. The void-breaking pill is the key for Sister Baiyu to break through to the late stage of the martial god. Please return it to her. With your current state, forcibly refining the void-breaking pill is tantamount to seeking death. Long Yao stared solemnly into Lu Chen's eyes. She was definitely not alarmist. A cunning look flashed in Lu Chen's deep eyes. He touched his chin and said hesitantly, "Although you are right, this shoe-breaking pill was given to me by Long Baiyu. Even if you ask me to return it to her, she also came to ask for it herself. And why should I listen to you? Or can you give me something of equal value in exchange?" Long Yao shook his head slightly and said with turbulent eyes, "Please return the pox pill to Sister Long Baiyu. It is really important to Sister Long Baiyu." "Do you really want it?" Long Yao nodded heavily, his eyes particularly complicated. "Do me a favor, I can give you the pouring void pill, what do you think?" Lu Chen said in a coaxing way. "Give it to me. Don't even think about it. I won't help you leave the Long family. It's impossible for you to leave the Long family before you tell me your secrets." Long Yao's white arms crossed her chest and she refused. She seemed to realize that she had said the wrong thing. Her snow-white face was filled with panic for a moment, and she hurriedly covered her pink lips with her little hands. "The secret about me? Hee." Lu Chen smiled coldly. Long Chen's idea was good, but he failed to consider Long Yao's innocence. In just a few words, all her inner thoughts were exposed. "I don't need you to help me leave the Long family. I have no plans to leave the Long family for the time being." Then what do you want me to help you with?" Long Yao raised her eyes in confusion. If Lu Chen didn't ask her to help escape from the Long family, then what help would he need from her? "I need you to help me win Long Chen's trust. Even if he can't completely trust me, He must give me the power to enter and leave the Long family at will, so that I can gain a foothold in Nanshuang City for a long time. Lu Chen's words were concise and to the point. Lu Chen stared at Long Yao, who was deep in thought, and asked, "Based on my understanding of Long Chen, he should not only let you ask me about my secrets. Did he also let you lust, seducing me?" A touch of pink spread quickly on Long Yao's tender face. Lu Chen's guess was correct. Long Chen not only asked her to ask Lu Chen about the secret of transforming into a dragon, but also asked her to use her charm to make Lu Chen fall in love with her. But, why would Lu Chen know? How did he guess it? Looking at Long Yao's reaction, it's really, even if I help you, Uncle Long Chen won't believe it. It doesn't matter whether he believes it or not, but your innocence can make anyone put down their guard. But you don't. I'm different. Then what do you need me to do? Lu Chen leaned close to Long Yao's ear and whispered, "Play a play with me." A trace of blush appeared on Long Yao's unpainted face. Lu Chen's sudden approach to her made her nervous and her breath began to become slightly disordered. When she heard Lu Chen's words, the red glow spread from her snowy face to her neck. It was the first time she was in such close contact with a strange man, which made her heart pound. Long Yao refused softly. "How is this possible? If Uncle Long Chen finds out, I will be in trouble. Don't you want to take this shoe-breaking pill back for Long Baiyu? That's right, you are you, she is her. There is absolutely no need for you to wrong yourself for Long Baiyu. No, I'm willing to do anything for Sister Baiyu, but I don't want to help you cheat." "Liar. Long Yao, have you made a mistake? I'm about to die. Do you still care if I lied?" After saying that, Lu Chen put the pox pill in his hand back into the jade box and returned it to Long Yao. Long Yao did not refuse. This shoe-breaking pill was really important to Long Baiyu, but because Long Chen had given it to him, Long Baiyu had been unwilling to refine it. This made Lu Chen there is a chance to get it. But Lu Chen is not a fool. The reason why he is willing to return the Shu Po Dan to Long Yao is because he not only wants Long Yao to help him gain Long Chen's trust, but also wants to find an opportunity to use the Long family's artifact, Shen Nong Cauldron. The artifact map was lit up the moment he stepped into Long's house, which meant that there were artifacts around Lu Chen. Not only did Long Baiyu's Liuyan sword appear on the artifact map, but also an ancient giant bronze cauldron appeared. Lu Chen knew that it was the Long family's Shenong Cauldron. After Long Chen releases his house arrest, Lu Chen can go in and out of the Long family as he pleases, looking for the Shenong Cauldron. Many divine weapons, such as the Shenong Cauldron and the Xuanyuan sword, are artifacts left over from ancient times. Different from the Xuanyuan sword, the Shenong Cauldron can refine all the spiritual grass in the world and temper it into pure spiritual liquid, allowing warriors to easily absorb and refine it. The Shenong Cauldron can be said to be an artifact that assists cultivation. This is why the Long family is so powerful, and the number of strong warriors is the largest among the 7 major families of Nanshuang. There are hundreds of millions of spiritual herbs stored in Lu Chen's Medicine King's Codex. If all of them are thrown into the Shenong Cauldron, a cauldron of spiritual liquid will be refined. If you use spiritual liquid to temper your body again, your martial arts cultivation will not be able to reach the sky in one step. 7 days later, it was time for Lu Chen to deliver the answer to Long Chen. Long Chen tore apart the cracks in the space, and his figure appeared silently in Lu Chen's courtyard. His appearance caused the flowing air to stagnate. Long Chen said indifferently as before, "How are Lu Chen's thoughts? Are you going to join my Long family and serve me, or do you have other plans?" Lu Chen was not surprised by Long Chen's appearance. He slowly stood up and held Long Yao's tender little hand beside him, saying, "Lu Chen is willing to go through fire and water for the Long family." Long Yao's slender eyebrows frowned slightly, but she didn't break away from Lu Chen's hand, but the subtle strangeness was still caught by Long Chen. The corners of Long Chen's lips curved in an extremely dangerous arc. "Good boy, in just a few days you have made me, the genius of the Long family, fall in love with you. I'm actually looking down on you." Long Chen suppressed the smile on his lips and whispered, "Since little friend Lu Chen is willing to go through fire and water for our Long family, isn't it time to tell me the secret you hide?" Lu Chen's dark eyes flashed with black light, and he said nonsensically, "The secret mentioned by the Long family master should be how I master the secret method of transforming into a dragon, right? I've been thinking about it these days, and this may be the only thing about me that can make me a dragon. Master Long is so moved, but I may disappoint you, Actually, I don't know. I was lucky enough to get a drop of dragon blood. During the refining process, I fell into a coma due to unbearable pain. When I woke up again, I looked like that. As for what you want, I may not be able to give you. Long Chen's eyes were half squinted, with a soul-piercing cold light hidden in them. So that's it. I thought that the ancient secrets of my Long family would be revealed again, but in the end it was just a figment of my dreams. Every word he said was heavy, and there was a heavy intimidation in every word. Lu Chen even felt a slight tremor in Long Yao's petite body. Long Yao seemed to be very afraid of Long Chen, otherwise she couldn't explain why her body was shaking so violently at the moment. Lu Chen gently let go of Long Yao's catkins, cupped his fists and said, "Master Long, now I have completely surrendered to the Long family. I hope you can lift my house arrest and allow me the freedom to enter and leave the Long family at any time. I won't be bored here anymore. I'm going crazy." Long Chen raised his sword eyebrows, not knowing what he was thinking in his heart. No emotion could be discerned in his voice. "It seems that I have never restricted your freedom. I just arranged a place for you. As for where you want to go, your freedom." Lu Chen was overjoyed and said, "Thank you so much, master." Long Chen paused slightly, and then his figure disappeared like mist. Long Yao breathed out the fragrance of orchid and musk from her lips. She raised her white arm and patted her chest gently and said, "Is this considered a fool's errand? Uncle Long seems to have believed you." Lu Chen didn't speak. If it was so easy to believe in himself, then he was not Long Chen. Lu Chen invited, "Are you interested in going out with me? It's boring to stay here for too long." "Okay." After Long Yao happily agreed, she followed Lu Chen and left the small courtyard. A figure in white robes appeared in the distance like a ghost. He stared at the two Lu and Chen who were gradually going away with dim eyes, and called in a low voice, "17th Elder." After a few breaths, Long Yu appeared next to Long Chen. "Keep an eye on them. If he dares to run away, kill him directly, don't kill him accidentally." "Yes, head of the family." The streets of Nanshuang City are particularly lively, with cars flowing like water and horses like dragons. The shouts of vendors are on both sides, and the dazzling array of products is dazzling. Lu Chen and Long Yao walked side by side. The two didn't talk too much. No one wanted to break the silence. On the other side of Nanshuang City, Chu Feng and Xie Yuxuan followed Chu Yingxue. With her face covered by the white gauze reflecting the snow, she has a graceful figure and slender waist. Her long black hair is spread casually behind her. Under the white gauze are her fragrant lips like pearls. Chu Yingxue lightly opened her lips and said, "Chu Feng, you'd better not expose your name easily during this period. I just got the news that not long ago, a thief named Chu Feng stole all the souls in the Mo family Baisao Pavilion. Damn it, the Mo family is searching for traces of him all over the city." Chu Feng frowned slightly and said, "Senior Chu, I have just arrived in Nanshuang City. What does the theft of Mo's spiritual grass have to do with me?" Chu Yingxue glanced at Chu Feng and said quietly, "Don't I know that this matter has nothing to do with you? It's just that the Mo family is searching for the thief all over the city. Even if he has the same name, he will not let it go. If you were caught, yes, don't blame me for not reminding you." Chu Feng twitched his lips and wanted to say something to refute, but after thinking of Chu Yingxue's temper, he took back the words that came to his lips. Now he is dependent on someone else. If he offends her, he may not get any good results. Xie Yuxuan looked left and right with watery eyes, deeply attracted by the excitement and prosperity of Nanshuang City. She said, "Senior Chu, please rest assured that my junior brother and I will not cause any trouble to you." Chu Yingxue's eyes were cold as she said, "I'd like to remind you once again that her name must not appear here." The moment she was mentioned, the expressions of Chu Feng and Xie Yuxuan became visibly serious. If the Long family knew that Feng Zhu had returned to the ancient martial arts world, who knew what kind of bloody storm would be caused? On the bustling street, the one-armed figure in black robe quickly attracted Lu Chen's attention, making him look twice unconsciously. Lu Chen couldn't help but sneer in his heart. "Chu Feng, do you really dare to come? I was just worried that I had no more destiny, and Chu Feng came to my door. How should I thank you?" Lu Chen looked at Long Yao beside him and said, "You go back first, I have something to deal with." Long Yao looked at Lu Chen silently and refused directly. "I don't, Lu Chen, do you want to run away?" Well, Lu Chen was completely impressed by Long Yao's intelligence. Why did he run away? Long Chen had sent several martial gods to follow him. Before Long Chen gave up on unlocking the secret method of transforming into a dragon, how could Lu Chen have such a stupid idea? Lu Chen shook his head, his eyes flashing with strange light. Under Long Yao's gaze, he walked towards Chu Feng and whispered like a demon. Chu Feng, you really dared to come to Nanshuang City. That bitch Feng Zhu is really not afraid of death. That familiar voice made Chu Feng's pupils tremble violently, and the blood in his veins continued to surge. This voice was. Chu Feng turned around suddenly and saw Lu Chen's evil smile. He was partly surprised and partly furious. Lu Chen actually came to the ancient martial arts world. No, now is not the time for him to get angry. Lu Chen actually called out Feng Zhu's name in Nanshuang City. This was tantamount to pushing him into the abyss. The true energy in Chu Feng's body was flowing, and he clenched his hands tightly, ready to give Lu Chen a fatal blow at any moment. Just as Lu Chen walked towards Chu Feng, Chu Yingshui raised her snow-white palm with cold eyes. The long sword in her hand condensed the amazing sword intent. She did not hesitate at all. The infinite sword intent was like a sudden rising sea. The raging wave, the sword intent like a tide, blasted away at Lu Chen's thin body. Even Chu Yingshui did not expect that besides Chu Feng and Xie Yuxuan, there would be people who knew about Feng Zhu's existence. If he is allowed to leave alive, Feng Zhu's identity will definitely be exposed. Then the only choice is to kill him and it will be over. At the moment when the long sword in Yingshui's hand suddenly burst out with sword energy, people on the originally bustling street fled in panic, accompanied by panicked shouts. Lu Chen's eyes were horrified, his body was shaken, and the energy in his body seemed to have solidified. No matter how hard he tried, there was no reaction at all. The sword energy tore open the space, trying to obliterate Lu Chen. At the critical moment, a white-robed figure appeared in front of Lu Chen. It was Long Yu, the 17th elder of the Long family. Following Long Chen's instructions, he followed Lu Chen to prevent him from escaping. As a result, Lu Chen somehow got into trouble. Chu Yingshui is troublesome. Because Lu Chen hadn't revealed the secret he knew yet, Long Yu naturally couldn't just watch him die here. Long Yu raised his palm and easily wiped out the domineering sword intent. The sword intent dispersed in the air, leaving behind subtle ripples. The moment the sword intent disappeared, the frozen qi in Lu Chen's body returned to its original state. Lu Chen's eyes were filled with coldness. Is this the power of the god of war? Although he now has the power to rival an 8th-grade demigod, he does not even have the ability to resist in front of the martial god. The chasm-like gap between the demigod and the martial god cannot be easily overcome. Chu Yingshui's reaction was obviously a little slower. She concentrated on retracting her sword, frowned slightly and said uncertainly, "Are you the 17th elder of the Long family?" Long Yu's majestic voice was filled with coldness. "Chu Yingshui, you are so majestic. You used your sword to kill people in Nanshuang City. Do you really think that no one can control you?" Under Long Yu's questioning, Chu Yingshui said with calm eyes, "This matter seems to have nothing to do with you. You are just a pariah, and you can actually make the 17th elder show up in person." Long Yu was offended by Chu Yingshui's unmoved indifference. His eyes were straight and he said, "It has nothing to do with me. Chu Chushan has raised a good daughter. His arrogant and domineering style is even worse than what he did back then." Lu Chen frowned slightly. If he remembered correctly, Chu Chushan should be the current head of the Chu family, that is, Chu Yingshui's father. He is an extremely arrogant and domineering person. It is no wonder that Chu Yingshui is so unruly. Chu Yingshui said coldly, "Who do you think you are? It's your turn to teach me a lesson?" Although Chu Yingshui was slightly inferior to Long Yu in terms of strength, she had no fear of Long Yu at all. He was just an elder of the Long family, and she didn't believe that the Long family would quarrel with the Chu family over this elder. The conversation between the two made Chu Feng tremble. The energetic old man in white robes in front of him turned out to be the elder of the Long family, and he even fought against Lu Chen and Chu Yingshui. An ominous premonition was born in Chu Feng's heart. Xie Yuxuan's watery eyes stared at Lu Chen with resentment. The junior brother who once obeyed her words turned out to be so ruthless. He really didn't care about the friendship in the past and injured Chu Feng and Feng Zhu. Now he dared to appear in front of her. Xie Yuxuan's right hand slowly clenched into a fist. Now they have parted ways and become strangers. That little junior brother will never come back. But she never regretted driving Lu Chen out of Huayang Mountain. Keeping a villain like Lu Chen with hidden evil intentions would definitely be a disaster. Long Yao was stunned in the distance. She didn't know what happened for a moment. Why did Senior Chu Yingshui suddenly attack Lu Chen? Is there any grudge between them? The seemingly frozen atmosphere made Long Yao unsure whether to step forward or not. Lu Chen smiled jokingly and said, "Senior Long Yu, do you still remember the Feng family, your Long family's rival? I heard that only one person from the Feng family was missing during the killing." Long Yu frowned slightly, not surprised that Lu Chen knew about this. After all, the annihilation of the Feng family caused a sensation in the entire ancient martial arts world. Even if Lu Chen knew about it, it would not be unusual. Chu Feng's eyes were about to burst. Sure enough, Lu Chen already knew about the grudge between Feng Zhu and the Long family. Never let him say it, never, otherwise, even if Chu Yingshui protects him today, he will have no hope of surviving. The true energy in Chu Feng's body surged out like a tide, and the empty sleeves on his left arm made a sound as the true energy blew. At this moment, he had no choice but to die. Either Lu Chen died or he died. Chu Feng's figure disappeared like a ghost, and his palms ignited with crimson red light. "Go to hell, Lu Chen. The burning sun will destroy your palms." Lu Chen looked disdainfully at Chu Feng, who had already been carried away by anger. In front of him was Long Yu, who was in the realm of the martial god. How could Chu Feng hurt Lu Chen in the slightest? Before Long Chen obtained the secret method of transforming into a dragon, even if Lu Chen wanted to die, Long Chen would not agree. Long Yu laughed wantonly, as if he had suddenly seen the funniest scene in the world. A mere martial saint dared to kill the martial emperor in front of the martial god. It's so ridiculous, so ridiculous. Chu Yingshui couldn't help but cursed. Idiot. Without waiting for her to stop him, Long Yu immediately waved his sleeves and pure chi lingered on his palms. He laughed wildly and said, "A mere bug dares to be so presumptuous in front of me. Today I will wipe you out." Then, under Chu Yingshui's surprised eyes, the palm wind wrapped with pure energy turned into a giant hand. The giant hand crushed the space, and slapped Chu Feng with one palm without reservation. "Chu Feng, be careful." Chu Yingshui stretched out her smooth palm and slapped it against the wind of the palm. Two powerful forces bombarded the space, causing the space to continuously distort and finally break. The two domineering forces generated powerful air currents, which directly lifted the weakling Chu Feng away. Similarly, Chu Yingshui's body also trembled slightly. Her soft and delicate body took half a step back uncontrollably before she stabilized her figure. There was a cold light in her beautiful eyes, as cold as a blade. This elder of the Long family, he was really brave, daring to kill Chu Feng in front of her. Chu Feng, Xie Yuxuan eagerly stepped forward to check on Chu Feng's injuries. She complained that Chu Feng was too reckless and shouldn't be so angry because of Lu Chen. Seeing Chu Feng's embarrassed appearance, the girl's hatred for Lu Chen couldn't help but become stronger. Chu Yingshui looked back at Chu Feng and felt relieved when she saw that he was only slightly injured. If Chu Feng died in Nanshuang City, she didn't know how to explain it to Feng Zhu. Seeing that Long Yu easily crushed Chu Yingshui, Lu Chen no longer took her seriously and sneered, "Elder Long Yu, do you know who this broken-armed bastard is in front of you?" When Long Yu heard Lu Chen's voice, he couldn't help but turn his gaze to Chu Feng. Just now, when Lu Chen was talking about the remnants of Feng Zhu, he was forcibly interrupted by this kid. Is it possible that there is some connection between this boy with a broken arm and the remnants of the Feng family back then? Do you still remember Feng Zhu, the remnant of the Feng family who was on the run? The two people in front of you are the apprentices of that bitch. I heard that they came back this time to take revenge on your Long family. Lu Chen said playfully, looking like he was just watching the fun and not taking it too seriously. Chu Feng stood up tremblingly. What he was most worried about had happened. Lu Chen, a despicable and shameless villain. When Feng Yu's name came out, the atmosphere became extremely tense at this moment. Long Yu's eyes focused on Chu Feng and Xie Yuxuan, his thick eyebrows suddenly sank, and he repeated, "Feng Zhu's apprentice." Unexpectedly, this extremely weak piece of trash in front of me turned out to be the disciple of the remnant of the Feng family. The Long family had been searching for Feng Zhu for 20 years but could not find any trace of her. Now he still dares to bring her to the door openly. He is really looking for death. A flash of fire flashed across Long Yu's turbid pupils, and a terrifying coercion was released from his body. He stopped talking nonsense with Chu Yingshui, and his body suddenly burst out with majestic energy, and his figure turned into a white shadow. It attacked Chu Feng, its splayed 5 claws grabbing Chu Feng's throat. As long as Chu Feng is captured, Feng Zhu's whereabouts will be known. In this way, we can find the whereabouts of the Phoenix God's blood that has been hidden for hundreds of years by the Feng family. The sudden murderous intention made Chu Feng lose his mind. When he came to his senses, Long Yu had already appeared in front of him. The old man's gloomy gaze made Chu Feng's soul shatter in half. "Old guy, you think I don't exist, right? If you want to touch him, have you asked me?" Chu Yingshui's Su held the long sword tightly in her hand, and the unrivaled sword intent overflowed from the long sword, and the world seemed to dim at this moment. A blue light flashed in her hand, and the long sword condensed a faint blue cold light. The clear sound of the sword chant echoed through the sky. The long sword in Chu Yingshui's hand suddenly stabbed out. The sword intent surged like a long river, domineeringly connecting Long Yu and Chu. Maple's figure separates. Long Yu was shocked. Although he knew that Chu Yingshui had astonishing talent in swordsmanship, this was the first time he saw her perform swordsmanship. Even he had to be cautious with such a sharp swordsmanship. After being forced back by the sword intent, Long Yu frowned and said coldly, "Chu Yingshui, get out of my way and leave this kid to me. I don't care about you hiding them. If you dare to stop me, don't blame me for not giving him any help." Chu Chushan's face. Chu Yingshui Lian moved lightly and twirled the long sword in her hand lightly, saying, "Who do you think you are, worthy of my father's face? Chu Feng is on the safe side today. If you want to touch him, first ask if you agree to the ice and snow sword in my hand." Long Yu's chest heaved violently, and he was extremely angry. He threatened in a hateful voice, "Chu Yingshui, think about how the Feng family fell into the abyss step by step. Don't let your Chu family follow in the footsteps of the Feng family. What a joke, do you really think that your Long family can dominate the Nanshuang Empire with one hand? To put it bluntly, Nanshuang Jia is not dead yet. As a minister of the Nanshuang Empire, Long Chen is not qualified to sanction my Chu family." Okay. You are even more arrogant than your father, Chu Chushan. Today, I will let you know what it means to have someone outside the human world and a heaven beyond the sky. Come here, bitch. Long Yu's pupils were so wide that they were about to explode. He quickly formed seals with his hands and roared, "Dragon-breaking spear." A dark spear appeared from the seal. Long Yu held the dark spear in his hand and released a surging evil spirit to compete with the overwhelming sword intent. The world is now dim, dominated by two powerful forces. The terrifying power has attracted the attention of all parties, and the strong men in Nanshuang City are also rushing here at this moment. Long Yu roared loudly, "Spear of destruction, kill." The dark spear condensed with deep energy, directly collided ferociously with the sword river. A long-lasting roar echoed in the sky, and neither of the two forces that destroyed all things could do anything to the other. Long Yu gritted his teeth and said secretly, "Good swordsmanship, if I let you practice for a few more years, I will never be your opponent, but you have no chance of winning today." Chu Yingshui's expression was also a little solemn, and the beautiful shadow flew through the air like a startling giant, not daring to challenge the sharp majesty of the spear. Long Yao stood next to Lu Chen, watching the duel between the warrior gods from a distance so as not to be affected. Lu Chen could hardly hold back the smile on his lips. Chu Feng will definitely die if nothing happens today. Since the Long family knows that he is Feng Zhu's disciple, how can they let him go? But according to the display of the system, Chu Feng still has 40% of his luck. This amount of luck is not exhausted yet. I wonder what changes will happen later. At this moment, two figures appeared not far away from the duel between Long Yu and Chu Yingshui. Lu Chen stared at it, but he didn't expect that the people who came were actually Mo He and Mo Kei from the Mo family. Now in Nanshuang City, even dogs will wag their tails and go to the Mo family to ask for rewards after hearing the word, Chu Feng. The moment Lu Chen called out Chu Feng's name, someone had already gone to the Mo family to leak the secret. It was no wonder that the Mo family arrived so promptly. But what Lu Chen didn't expect was that Mo Kei would come in person, which would cause trouble. A deep crack was torn above the deserted street, and two black figures walked out of the crack. They had somewhat similar looks. They both had sword-shaped eyebrows at their temples. eyes as bright as stars, and dark golden-black robes. They look extremely noble. Mo Kei's eyes focused on Chu Feng, and he exuded a sharp and intimidating gaze, which made Chu Feng's soul tremble, and fear suddenly arose in his heart. Chu Feng was horrified. Who are they? Could it be that he is from the Long family? At this time, Mo Kei's indifferent voice echoed in the sky. You two, please stop this. I, Mo Kei, want this person. Chu Yingshui and Long Yu's expressions changed suddenly, and they couldn't help but stop their offensive. Is it possible that the Mo family also wants to take a trip into this muddy water? 4 powerful auras spread from the sky, making the people below unable to breathe. Lu Chen looked at the 4 figures above the sky with deep eyes, not knowing what he was thinking in his heart. Long Yu was the first to speak. This matter about Mo Kei seems to have nothing to do with you. This son is the disciple of Feng Zhu, a remnant of the Feng family. It is related to important matters of our Long family. Today, I must take him back. The old man's powerful voice was unquestionable. Presumably Mo Kei and others also knew what Feng Yu's apprentice meant. Anyone who obstructed it would be tantamount to declaring war on the Long family. Mo Kei's eyes were a little solemn. This thief is Feng Zhu's apprentice? Feng Zhu. Is she really still alive? After a brief moment of astonishment, Mo Kei quickly came to his senses and said, Elder Long Yu, regardless of whose disciple he is, just because his name is Chu Feng, I must take him back to the Mo family for interrogation. Chu Yingshui Bing pursed her lips lightly. Long Yu was already difficult enough, but now Mo Kei and Mo he actually wanted Chu Feng. Even she couldn't guarantee that Chu Feng would be safe and sound in the hands of Long Yu and Mo Kei. Leave. The theft of the Mo family's Baisao Pavilion caused an uproar in Nanshuang City, and it was known to the whole world. Now the Mo family is like a mad dog, biting all over the streets. Long Yu also knew Mo He's purpose. He smiled jokingly and said, Master Mo, what you have done is a bit too much. Now in Nanshuang City, even if there is a despicable wild dog named Chu Feng, do your Mo family have to do it? Take him back and torture him to extract a confession? Long Yu's few words made Mo Kei and Mo He's expressions change several times. Naturally, they could hear the sarcasm in Long Yu's voice. Even though Long Yu is the elder of the Long family, his status is very different from that of Mo Kei. One is the elder of the 7 major families, and the other is the head of the 7 major families. The status of the two people is very different. How dare Long Yu make such arrogant remarks? Mo He said coldly. Long Qi, this matter is related to the future of my Mo family. I would rather catch him wrong than let him go. After we retrieve the spiritual grass, we will naturally tie him to your Long family. You can call Long Shiki too. You bastard. Only you morons like you, the Mo family, can steal the spiritual herbs right under your nose. Long Yu said through gritted teeth and eyes. The atmosphere became more and more intense. Chu Feng had never seen such a scene before. He also understood that if he fell into the hands of the Long family, he would definitely die. But the Mo family? Maybe there is still a glimmer of hope. Chu Feng glanced at the pale Xie Yuxuan beside him. Chu Feng stepped forward and said coldly, the theft of the Mo family's spiritual grass was indeed my fault. Mo Kei's brows darkened and his voice became cold. What did you say? Chu Feng was trembling with fear. He held himself up to prevent himself from kneeling down under the pressure of the 4 martial gods. He said word by word, I said, I was the one responsible for the theft of your Mo family's spiritual grass. Where is the spiritual grass? Mo He yelled and asked. The thief cut up all the spiritual herbs in the Baisao Pavilion in front of him and trampled all his dignity under his feet. Mo He wished he could cut the thief into pieces. Feeling the sense of oppression coming from Mo He's body, Chu Feng's clenched hands trembled violently. In the dark, he felt a suffocating sense of death emerge, and a mouthful of blood spat out from his mouth. His expression he fell to the ground in despair. Xie Yuxuan exclaimed. Chu Feng. She squatted on the ground and transferred her true energy into Chu Feng's meridians to protect his heart. She raised her head resentfully, her beautiful eyes flashing with tears, and she didn't understand why Chu Feng had to admit this crime. Chu Feng has been traveling with her these days. How could it be the Mo family's spiritual grass he stole? Chu Yingshui's bright wrists holding the ice and snow sword sank. She looked at Chu Feng with strange eyes, and she didn't understand why Chu Feng would admit such a thing that had nothing to do with him. Mo Kei looked indifferent and said, Elder Long Yu, can you hear me? now that the thief has personally admitted it, is there anything else you want to say? The corner of Long Yu's mouth twitched violently. It seemed that this matter must be reported back to Long Chen before further discussion. The relationship between the Mo family and the Long family is like water and fire. It was because of the Long family that Mo Kei's daughter was lost in the secular world. Mo Kei has been brooding about this over the years, often confronting Long Chen in front of Nan Shuangjia. Long Yu gritted his teeth slightly. This thief has already admitted it himself. If he continues to pester and anger the two Moke brothers, I am afraid that I will not get any benefits. The afterimage of Mo Kei appeared in front of the unconscious Chu Feng. Under the control of his thoughts, the bodies of Chu Feng and Xie Yuxuan were suspended in the air uncontrollably. A deep crack appeared in front of him, and he stepping into a deep crack and disappearing. Farewell. Mo he left a word and then disappeared. Chu Yingshui put the ice and snow sword in her hand into the scabbard, glanced at Long Yu coldly, and then turned into a blue light and shadow and left. She must go to Mo's house to explain the whole story. After the three martial gods left, the dim sky began to regain its brightness. A ray of sunlight penetrated the dark clouds and shone into Nanshuang City. Seeing that the turbulent clouds and waves returned to calm, people in Nanshuang City dared to come out and wait and see. Ding! It has been detected that Chu Feng, the son of destiny, has suffered heavy damage, and he will be rewarded with 100,000 destiny points. The fate of Chu Feng, the son of destiny, has been reduced to 30%. Current destiny value. 200,000. Lu Chen ignored the system mechanical sound in his mind, but lowered his eyes and thought about something. Chu Feng is not far away from your death. Long Yu's aura was unstable, and his entanglement with that crazy woman Chu Yingshui consumed a lot of his energy. He landed steadily in front of Lu Chen. Long Yao frowned and said, 17th Elder, are you okay? Bar? Long Yu said softly. Grandpa is so old and stiff, how can something happen? Hearing this, Long Yao breathed a sigh of relief. Long Yao knew very well how powerful Chu Yingshui was, and even someone like Long Yu, who had already entered the realm of the martial god, would find it difficult to take advantage of her. Long Yu exhaled a breath of turbid air, looked at Lu Chen with a deep brow and said, you seem to know a lot about Feng Zhu. Come on, follow me back immediately and tell the master of the family everything you know. A crack appeared in front of Lu Chen, and he was dragged into the crack by the old man in white robe. After the three people left, the crack slowly closed, dissipated. There were only faint ripples left in the air, the only trace of their presence. In just a few breaths, Lu Chen was brought to Long Chen by Long Yu. In the splendid hall, Long Chen's eyebrows were deeply furrowed. He was very displeased with Long Yu's sudden appearance. He pretended to be nonchalant and picked up the fragrant tea on the table to taste it. In the space in front of Long Chen, there were weak ripples. It seemed that someone had been there, but because of Long Yu's sudden appearance, he also left. Lu Chen noticed something strange about Long Chen. He secretly and carefully activated the Dragon Soul. His deep pupils gradually became brighter. Relying on the powerful mental power of the Dragon Soul, he sensed all the spaces in the hall. There was only one shadow in the hall that he could not detect. The space there seemed to be distorted by some powerful force, making it impossible for him to detect it. Lu Chen didn't dare to do anything blatantly. The weak white light dissipated from his eyes and he quickly returned to normal. What's the matter? That's how it goes. Long Yu explained the whole story to Long Chen clearly. Long Chen's sword-browed eyebrows sank slightly, and a trace of fiery heat emerged from the depths of Ji Yujing Webo's eyes. As expected, the drop of Feng Shen's essence and blood he needed should be on Feng Zhu's body. Otherwise, why did he search all over the place that year? The entire Feng family hasn't found the whereabouts of Feng Shen's essence and blood? Long Chen put down the teacup in his hand and asked, Lu Chen, do you know where Feng Zhu is hiding now? She appeared in Qingyang town in the Nanshuang Empire 2 months ago. I don't know now. The purpose of coming to Long's house is to tell Long Baiyu about this, but did she take what I said seriously? I don't know. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Lu Chen became inexplicably angry when he thought of Long Baiyu's indifference to everything. I already know about this, you can go back first. Lu Chen was a little confused, so shouldn't Long Chen go directly to Mo's house to rob someone? Why doesn't he seem to care too much? Could it be because of that mysterious aura? Lu Chen couldn't help but start to recall the plot. Could it be that the person who made Long Chen so cautious was someone from the Baiming Empire? Lu Chen's guess was correct. Long Chen's caution only made Lu Chen more convinced of his guess. Not everyone is willing to bear the charges of seeking power and usurping the throne, and regicide. Lu Chen pretended to be casual and asked, "When will the master of the Long family go to the Mo family to ask for someone?" Long Chen said calmly, "I have my own plans for this matter, and this is not something you should consider." For Long Chen, Mo Kei was a trouble. The relationship between the two was already on fire and water. Visiting Mo Kei's house at this time would inevitably lead to loss of face. What's more, the little thief has already admitted that he stole the Mo family's Baisao pavilion. Now even if Long Chen comes to visit in person, Mo Kei will never agree to hand Xu Feng over to him. When Long Yu turned around and was about to leave, Long Chen's cold voice sounded behind the two of them. "Elder 17, next time you come in, please go through the front door. You'd better report to me." Long Yu was stunned for a moment, then said respectfully, "Yes, the head of the family." After Lu and Chen left the hall, in the shadow that Lu Chen could not detect, a black shadow extended infinitely from the ground and stopped until it touched Long Chen's shadow. A mutilated face appeared from Long Chen's shadow, and a mysterious man in black robe appeared in front of Long Chen. His face could not be seen clearly under the cover of the black robe, but his pair of eyes looked like lanterns from hell. The eyes kept flickering, eerie and scary. The black shadow laughed in a low voice. "Jia Jia Jia. Prime Minister Long really has everything on his plate. What are your plans now that Feng Zhu has shown up? Did His Royal Highness Prince Ji Han ask you to come, or did you come on your own?" Long Chen asked with a frown. The black shadow did not answer, but reminded in his hoarse voice, "Master Long, you don't seem to take His Royal Highness's instructions to heart. There is only 1 year left before we agree. I miss you. You should know the temper of His Royal Highness very well. The battle for the throne of the Baiming Empire has ended for a while. Among the 7 princes, only Ji Shuang, the least successful one, is still missing. As for the remaining 5, their corpses have begun to fester, but you are still too late, reluctant to take action against Nan Shuangjia. What are you so afraid of? How can you be so submissive in the face of a dying man? How can you look like the head of the Long family? Nan Shuangjia has been seriously ill for a long time. He will become my puppet soon. Please ask His Highness the Crown Prince to give me some more time." Faced with the accusation from the black shadow, Long Chen did not dare to be disrespectful in any way. It's hard to imagine who the person in front of you is. Only then could Long Chen, the head of the 7 major families in the Nanshuang Empire, be so respectful. The terrifying face under the shadow smiled strangely and said, "Master Long forgot to tell you that you asked me to help you find the secret technique for refining blood essence. I have found it, but His Highness the Crown Prince does not agree with me giving it to you in advance. I think you should understand what to do next, right? Don't let me down. His Royal Highness doesn't have that much patience to wait for you." Long Chen's eyes burned with more ardent delusions. He bowed and said, "Master Imperial Master, I understand what to do. I can guarantee that if you give me a few more months, Nan Shuangjia will definitely completely sinking and becoming a puppet who obeys my words." Jia Jia Jia. As long as you understand what I mean. By the way, that boy just now is from your Long family? It's rare to have dragon and phoenix blood. The words that Long Chen called the National Preceptor made Long Chen stunned for a moment. "Master National Preceptor, are you saying that Lu Chen has the blood of dragon and phoenix?" "Huh? Don't you know? I thought you knew. That's all. It's time for me to go back. If my traces are exposed, our Baiming Empire's century-old plan will be ruined." The black shadow dispersed like mist, as if it had never appeared. Long Chen clenched his hands tightly in excitement, but his eyes were dark and terrifying. He murmured to himself, Lu Chen, you have brought me too many surprises. Not only did you crack that the secret method of transforming into a dragon is based on the blood of dragon and phoenix. What is your identity?" Long Chen's experience is naturally not comparable to that of ordinary people. Even he was so surprised, which is enough to see how rare this dragon and phoenix bloodline is. Lu Chen returned to his small courtyard, feeling vaguely uneasy in his heart. The reason why Long Chen was willing to obey the orders of Ji Han, the crown prince of the Baiming Empire, was because Ji Han had an ancient secret technique for refining blood essence. He used this secret technique to extract the ancient dragon essence and blood from Chu Feng's body. However, he failed and was killed by Chu Feng. Maple fights back. Since Long Chen already knew that he contained dragon blood, sooner or later he would extend his claws to Lu Chen. Lu Chen frowned deeply, and after a short period of thinking, he decided to find the Shenong cauldron, temper the spiritual herbs in the Medicine King's codex into spiritual liquid, and then leave the Long family. Lu Chen looked at Long Yao, who was holding his breath and deep in the state of cultivation. He tried in a low voice. Long Yao, it is said that the ancient artifact Shenong Ding is in the hands of your Long family. Is it true? Long Yao slowly opened her clear eyes and said calmly, yes, the Shenong cauldron is indeed in our hands. Why do you ask? It is not a secret that the Shenong cauldron is in the hands of the Long family. The entire ancient martial arts world actually knows it. However, the Long family has a strong foundation. Unless they want to die, it is impossible for anyone to dare to covet the Shenong cauldron. Lu Chen smiled slyly and said, then do you know where the Shenong cauldron is? I wonder if I have a chance. Long Yao rolled his eyes and said, you should give up. Even I have never seen the Shenong cauldron, and it is even less possible for you. The Shenong cauldron is the most precious treasure of my Long family. How can you display it at will? Lu Chen was a little disappointed and said no more. It seemed that he could only find the whereabouts of the Shenong cauldron on his own. At the same time, the Mo family. The true energy in Chu Yingshe's body returned to its original calmness. She opened her icy lips slightly and tried to explain clearly to Mo He, proving that Chu Feng had been with her these days. Chu Yingxue was still defending Chu Feng, but Mo He didn't bother to listen to her explanation at all, and issued an eviction order after just a few words of conversation. Although Chu Yingxue and he are also good friends, Mo He will not make any concessions on this matter. This matter is related to the life and death of the Mo family, and there must be no room for error. Uncle Mo He, has the thief really been caught? At this time, Mo Zian, supported by a maid, slowly walked towards Mo He. After a few days of adaptation, she could barely walk alone. Mo Zian's eyes suddenly focused and fell on Chu Yingshe's exquisite figure. Although the ice-like woman in front of her was covered with white gauze, her star-like eyes were enough to deduce how stunning she was. Beautiful. This made Mo Zian's pink face blush slightly. The moment Chu Yingxue saw Mo Zian, she frowned slightly and thought to herself, could she be Mo Kei's daughter left in the secular world? The Zian thief has been caught, but he hasn't woken up yet. When he wakes up, he can ask about the whereabouts of the spirit grass. The moment he saw the girl, the coldness in Mo He's eyes disappeared and turned into a gentle one. Uncle Mo He, can I take a look at him? Whenever she thought of the thief's eyes at that time, Mo Zian felt inexplicably familiar. She always felt that she had seen those deep eyes somewhere before, but she just couldn't recall them. Now that the thief who stole the Mo family had been caught, she was very curious about the face under the silver animal mask with fangs. Mo He frowned and thought for a moment before saying, okay. But you have to stand behind me. This guy is insidious and cunning. I wonder if he has any hidden tricks. Mo Zian nodded lightly, then followed Mo He into the dungeon. Chu Yingxue was silent for a moment and then followed in. Mo He's cold voice sounded. Chu Yingxue, I'm warning you one last time. If you dare to do anything detrimental to my Mo family, our Mo family will be incompatible with your Chu family. You can try to see my Mo family. Do you really have that ability? Chu Yingxue remained silent. It was obviously not a wise move to offend the Mo family for Chu Feng. The Mo family was like a mad dog at the moment, opening its mouth wide open when seeing people. The only thing she could do was to prove for Chu Feng, but how could Mo Kei believe it? The dark and damp dungeon, even under the light of torches, was extremely eerie. The sound of dripping water came from the darkness, which made Mo Zian tremble. This scene reminded her inexplicably of the time when she was imprisoned in the dungeon. During the dark period in the Lu family's dungeon, she felt worse than death. Pairs of dark eyes in the dungeon looked at the people coming. They did not dare to make a sound. Deep in the dungeon, a man with a broken arm was seen chained to the ground. He fell to the ground without any chance of life. The sound of Xie Yuxuan's little daughter sobbing came from next door. Mo Zian narrowed her eyes slightly by the firelight outside the dungeon. Under the messy hair, there was a face that was very familiar to her. Mo Zian covered her lips with both hands, her delicate body trembling slightly as she murmured to herself, Brother Chu Feng, is it really you? Mo Zian was confused and unbelievable for a moment. She couldn't believe her eyes. The boy with a broken arm in front of her turned out to be the son of destiny whom she had imagined countless times to save him in the Lu family's dungeon. Now he was imprisoned in the Mo family's dungeon in such an embarrassing state. Middle. Mo Xian's watery eyes were filled with mist, and she sobbed. Uncle Mo, is it really him? I don't believe it. Those eyes didn't belong to Chu Feng at all, otherwise why didn't she recognize them at that time? Mo didn't understand why Mo Xian cried suddenly. He said in a panic. Xian, could it be that you know him? Mo Xian burst into tears. How could the young man who had been an enemy of the entire Lu family and guarded her behind him be the thief who stole the Mo family's spiritual grass? If it was really him, why did he not dare to be with her at that time? Recognize? There must be. Someone must have framed him. Mo Xian bit her red lips tightly with her white teeth. She tried to keep herself calm. Her beautiful eyes trembled and she said, Uncle Mo, do you still remember that I once said that there is someone in the secular world who is willing to protect me? That person is him. Brother Chu Feng is definitely not the thief who stole my Mo family's Baisao pavilion. Mo didn't believe Mo Xian at all. He said coldly, Xian, you are still young and don't understand the sinister nature of people's hearts. The slight ripples in Chu Yingshe's beautiful eyes could not regain their composure for a long time. Chu Feng actually had a close relationship with the legitimate daughter of the Mo family. In this way, it is not that Chu Feng has no hope of escaping. Chu Yingshui asked softly, your name is Mo Xian, right? Have you known Chu Feng for a long time? Mo Xian stopped sobbing, her red lips parted slightly and said, yes, Sister Chu Yingshui. Brother Chu Feng once protected me. He can never be the shameless thief who stole my Mo family Baisao pavilion. Mo still didn't want to believe it. In that case, why did he admit that he stole my Mo family's Baisao pavilion? At this time, Chu Yingshui seemed to understand Chu Feng's good intentions, and she said seriously, because Chu Feng knows that if he falls into the hands of the Long family, he will definitely die, but if he falls into the hands of your Mo family, he might still be dead. There is a glimmer of hope, that's why he chose to take the blame. Mo was speechless. He opened the cage and poured a basin of cold water on Chu Feng's head. The cold water stimulated Chu Feng's nerves. His fingers moved slightly, and then he woke up from the heartbreaking pain. Chu Feng raised his eyelids and looked around silently. The sound of Xie Yuxuan's crying could be heard in his ears. She was in the cage next door. 4 figures appeared in front of him. Chu Feng squinted his eyes. They were Lu Wanqing. Mo Xian's eyes were red from crying. Brother Chu Feng, are you okay? Chu Feng was stunned for a moment and struggled to sit up. He looked at the girl in front of him in disbelief. Wasn't he being kidnapped by the strong warriors of the Mo family? Why did Lu Wanqing appear in front of him? Before Chu Feng could ask his doubts, Mo Xian said, Brother Chu Feng, please explain to Uncle Mo quickly. You didn't steal the spiritual grass at all, right? After being reminded by Mo Xian, Chu Feng instantly realized his situation. He quickly expressed his innocence. Thank you, Senior, for rescuing me from the Long family. It's just that the theft of your Mo family's spiritual grass is indeed not my responsibility. 4. Mo took a sharp breath. At this moment, he felt like a clown, being played around. He growled, you bastard, get out of here right now and go to Long's house. The moment Chu Feng woke up, Mo K tore up the void and appeared in the dungeon. Mo K heard clearly the conversation between a few people just now. Dad, Brother Chu Feng is innocent, please believe him, Mo Xian begged. Chu Feng was completely confused. The powerful martial god in front of him turned out to be Lu Wanqing's father. Mo K's face was uncertain, and he ordered, Mo please send this thief to the Long family immediately, tell them that everything is a misunderstanding, and we have to save him from their hands because we were used by this thief. After Mo Xian heard Mo K's words, she knelt down and said, Father, please don't hurt Brother Chu Feng. He once saved me. I can't just watch him die in the hands of the Long family. Anger was ignited in the depths of Mo's eyes. For a moment, he even wanted to kill Mo Xian. The murderous thoughts flashed past him. With Mo K by his side, he did not dare to take any further. But Mo regretted extremely at this moment, regretting that he had brought back Mo Xian, a burden from the secular world. If it weren't for this trash, the Mo family would not have spent such a huge price to treat her, let alone fall into the trap of thieves and steal all the spiritual herbs in Baisao Pavilion. Mo Xian, this trash, is simply an evil star. She should be allowed to fend for herself in the secular world. Mo K raised his eyes and did not look at Mo Xian. He said coldly, Xian, I can promise you anything, but I can't do this. I snatched him back because he admitted that the spiritual grass was stolen. He did it, but now this kid is telling me it wasn't him. Dad, let's let brother Chu Feng go. The Mo family is also one of the 7 major families of Nanshuang. Even the Long family doesn't dare to do anything to us. Mo Zian cried. Mo Ke hated Tai Bu Chunggong and gritted his teeth and said, "You know nothing about the Long family's background." Long Chi-Chi was willing to hand him over to me precisely because he admitted to stealing Baisao Pavilion. I also said that I would wait until the stolen items were recovered. After collecting the spiritual grass, he will be tied to the Long family. Mo Zian finally understood. Now he will die even if Chu Feng is the thief. Dad, is there no other way? Mo Ke didn't speak anymore, and he didn't know what to use to express the anger in his heart. Chu Yingshui on the side said, Mo Ke, I know that the theft of Baisao Pavilion is a big deal for your Mo family, but Chu Feng has been with me and Feng Ju for the past 2 months. The girl next door can also do this for you. He proved that he came to Nanshuang City this time just to heal your daughter, but he didn't expect someone to pretend to be his name and cause trouble in your Mo family. Chu Feng's eyes flashed with a deep cold light. He pointed all his fingers at Lu Chen. Is it possible that Lu Chen framed him? Soon, Chu Feng raised his eyes with great determination. He clenched his palm and slammed it on the ground. The iron chain clanged, and a spiderweb-like crack opened under his fist. He said in a low voice, Master Mo, I may already know who impersonated me and stole your Mo family's Baisao Pavilion. Mo Ke looked indifferent and was not too excited. I don't know how many people have said this to him. Those who had seen the thief before had provided clues to the Mo family, but they all ended up farting. Chu Feng's eyes were scarlet and he said, I wonder if Patriarch Mo still remembers the man in white who was standing opposite me at that time. His name is Lu Chen. He must have impersonated me. Mo Ke couldn't help but feel that it was a little ridiculous. It was extremely stupid to frame someone casually and just want to let him go. Mo Zian's soul began to tremble, and she asked in a trembling voice, Lu Chen, is he still alive? Chu Feng pointed to his broken arm and said, Of course he is still alive. I owe this broken arm to him. Now he is in Nanshuang City. It is clear that he wants to frame me. Mo Zian couldn't believe it. If the person wearing the silver fang mask was really Lu Chen, she was still looking at the devil at that time. She was scared just thinking about it now. Lu Chen had become her lifelong nightmare. A nightmare that won't go away. Mo Ke felt Mo Zian's body trembling slightly. He stared and asked, Zian, what's wrong with you? Dad, Lu Chen is still alive. The devil who made me a cripple is still alive. Woo-woo. How can this be? Mo, he said meaningfully, could it be that Mo Qinheng was killed by a warrior in the secular world? Mo Ke said seriously, Mo He, go and investigate Lu Chen's identity immediately, and then send this guy to the Long family for disposal. Chu Yingshui raised her arms to stop Mo He. The sleeves inlaid with gold threads naturally slid down her smooth arms, revealing her white wrists. She said, Wait a minute, Mo Ke. I know what you were worried about. Is just worried that Long Chen will make things difficult for your Mo family because Chu Feng is Feng Yu's disciple. Since Chu Feng is not the real culprit of stealing the spiritual grass, I have a way to make Long Chen unable to attack you and Chu Feng for a while. At the same time, you can use this opportunity to investigate the identity of Lu Chen. Mo Ke's pupils gradually dilated. He stared at Chu Yingshui and asked coldly, Oh, I would like to know what you can do to make him and my Mo family live in peace. Amid everyone's surprised gazes, Chu Yingshui Bing's lips parted softly and she said, Long Chen's powerful ministers deceived the emperor and had wolfish ambitions. Although there is no sign of seizing power on his face now, you and I both know his ambitions. I have a plan. It can revive the Nanshuang Empire and crush Long Chen's conspiracy. I just don't know what your thoughts are, Mo Ke, whether you are leaning towards the Long family or me, Nan Shuang. Mo Ke's pupils suddenly shrank. Chu Yingshui's words had completely made clear her Chu family's position. Nan Shuang. The meaning of these 3 words is self-evident. Mo Ke's expression seemed to be frozen. After a long time, he said seriously, Since I am a minister of the Nanshuang Empire, I am naturally willing to devote all my efforts and dedication to the Nanshuang Empire. After getting Mo Ke's answer, Chu Yingshui said coldly, You must also know, Mo Ke, that Nan Shuangji's strange disease must be related to Long Chen. Sooner or later, he will be like a puppet on strings and be taken over by Long Chen. Control and become Long Chen's puppet. Now there are only two ways before us. One is to kill Nan Shuangjia and establish Nan Shuangran as the new king. The other is to cure Nan Shuangjia's strange disease and free him from Long Chen's control. Quote. Chu Yingshe's words caused the dimly lit dungeon to fall into a dead silence. All you could hear was the sound of dripping water and the rapid and weak breathing of everyone. Regicide. I am afraid that only the lunatic Chu Yingxue dared to say it. Mo He and Mo Ke tacitly understood each other and cursed secretly in their hearts. Crazy woman. Seeing everyone fell into silence, Chu Yingxue continued. Of course, regicide is only the last resort. My idea is more inclined to the second one, which is to help Nan Shuangjia cure his strange disease. Mo Ke chuckled and asked, even Huang Zan, the imperial doctor, was unable to do anything about Nan Shuangji's strange disease. Do you think this is possible? Mo Ke, you seem to have forgotten something. Feng Zhu's father was a famous doctor in the ancient martial arts world. Feng Zhu's medical skills have surpassed his father's. Perhaps this is not impossible. Mo Ke couldn't help but glance at Chu Feng. If it was Feng Zhu, maybe he could really help Nan Shuangjia regain his consciousness. It's just, do you really want to go completely crazy with this crazy woman? If it fails, the Mo family will surely fall into a situation of eternal disaster, but are they just going to watch the Long family infiltrate the Nanshuang Empire bit by bit? Mo Ke said slowly. If Feng Zhu really has a way to get Nan Shuangjia out of Long Chen's control, I would be willing to join forces with the Chu family to deal with the Long family, but how could Feng Zhu show up in Nan Shuang City so arrogantly, let alone he said he was treating Nan Shuangjia? At this time, Chu Feng, who was looking sluggish, stood up with all his strength. His eyes were unshakable and he said, Seniors, Master is seriously injured and dare not set foot in Nanshuang City easily. However, since I am her apprentice, I naturally cannot watch the Nanshuang Empire fall into disaster. I am willing to do my best. Use your power to heal the wounds of Emperor Nanshuang. Mo Ke and others couldn't help but look at Chu Feng. Since he was Feng Zhu's disciple, he must have some abilities. Maybe he could give him a try. Perhaps this is the fate of the Nanshuang Empire. 3 days later, in the attic of the Long family, Long Chen looked at the ancient bamboo slips in his hand, and from time to time he raised his eyes to look at Lu Chen, who was sitting opposite him. Lu Chen, I heard that you seem to have been looking for something in my Long family during this time. Are you looking for the Shenong cauldron? Long Chen asked directly without any mincing words. Lu Chen smiled and said, it's true that nothing can be hidden from Master Long. So, the thief that the Mo family has been looking for is you, right? That's why you want to come to our Long family to use the Shenong cauldron to refine the spiritual fluid. The reason why you openly show me your ability to transform into a dragon is because let me lower my guard against you. At this moment, Long Chen's eyes were as gloomy as a bloodthirsty poisonous scorpion, which was so terrifying that it made one's heart palpitate. Lu Chen was stunned on the spot. Is there any connection between these two things? Why would Long Chen associate the theft of Mo's spiritual grass with his head? Without waiting for Lu Chen to explain, Long Chen said with a smile. Why, you seem to be surprised how I know. According to the news leaked from the Mo family, the fire wings on the back of the thief when he escaped seemed like a pair of phoenix flame wings. I think this huge south there will never be another person with the blood of the divine phoenix found in Frost City. Phoenix god bloodline. Lu Chen didn't know how to answer. Since he left the Mo family, he had never exposed the existence of the phoenix flame to anyone. How did Long Chen know that he had the blood of the divine phoenix? Wait, could it be because of that mysterious man from the Beiming Empire? Lu Chen said expressionlessly. Now that you know everything, do you think the Long family wants to kidnap me back to the Mo family? Long Chen laughed loudly and said, I'm grateful that you didn't even have time to steal the Baisao pavilion of the Mo family alone. The Mo family will definitely decline within 100 years. I can help you hide this matter. In return, shouldn't you do the same? Tell me the secret method of transforming into a dragon. After Long Chen paused slightly, he added, my patience is limited. As long as you tell me the secret method of transforming a dragon, you can use all the resources of my Long family at will. Even the Shenong cauldron can be borrowed by me as an exception, for you. Lu Chen stared intently and said, I understand. Then, under Long Chen's gaze, a scroll-like martial arts skill appeared in Lu Chen's palm. Lu Chen said calmly, The secret of transformation into a dragon that you want, Master Long, is contained in this martial arts seal. Then Lu Chen gave the fragments of the dragon and phoenix scripture to Long Chen. Now he had no choice. Lu Chen never thought that his identity would be exposed so easily. Long Chen was far more terrifying than he imagined. But Lu Chen did not give the complete dragon and phoenix manual to Long Chen. It would take Long Chen a while to decipher this martial skill. Long Chen didn't have a system, and it was impossible for him to practice a martial skill to perfection casually like Lu Chen. He wouldn't be able to notice the flaws in the martial skill for a while. Long Chen's eyes flashed with heat. After he stretched out his hand, the scroll in Lu Chen's palm flew towards his hand. He couldn't wait to spread his martial arts skills and said to himself excitedly, "This is the secret method of transforming a dragon. I finally got it, ha ha. Ha ha ha." After a long time, Long Chen took a deep look at Lu Chen and said, "I'm really happy that you made the right choice, but I can't let you use the Shenong cauldron for the time being." The Shenong cauldron fell into silence due to excessive consumption, and it takes 3 days to use it, years of recovery. 3 years? Are you just joking? Lu Chen sneered in his heart. The Shenong cauldron was an ancient artifact. How could it fall into silence? It was just a cover for Long Chen to deceive him. The purpose is simply to let Lu Chen stay in the Long family. It seems that Long Chen has begun to covet his dragon and phoenix bloodline. Lu Chen felt that it was time for him to find a chance to leave the Long family. At this moment, the space inside the main hall rippled slightly. Long Yu, the 17th elder of the Long family, slowly walked out of the deep crack. The look between his eyebrows was a little anxious. He didn't know what happened to make him so flustered. Long Chen looked at Long Yu, who was in such a panic, and he said coldly, "Why are you the 17th elder again? Didn't I tell you before you come in? These elders of the Long family are so lawless that they don't leave any private space for themselves, right?" He came and left whenever he wanted, as if he was not the head of the family at all. Long Yu smiled awkwardly and said, "I'm sorry, Master, I'm getting old and I forgot what you said for a moment. I'll tell you first when I come next time." Long Chen nodded silently, then picked up the teacup beside him, took a sip, and asked, "Since you are the elder of our Long family, you should act like an elder. How can you be so flustered? Tell me, why did you come to me today?" Long Yu frowned and glanced at Lu Chen beside him without saying anything. It seemed to be a signal to Long Chen that it was not convenient for Lu Chen to say it clearly since he was present. But it doesn't matter. Lu Chen has now completely returned to me, and there are some things he should know. Because Lu Chen gave him the dragon and phoenix scripture, Long Chen was in a good mood now, so he didn't care about it. But, hey, alas, news came from the palace of the head of the family. The Mo family sent a doctor with a broken arm into the palace, nominally to treat Nan Shuangji's injuries. I'm worried. Long Yu's expression changed. He had to be serious and spoke after a brief hesitation. Long Chen's palms suddenly tightened, and his face twitched. He only heard a crisp sound, and the celadon teacup in his hands shattered into powder. His voice was cold to the bone, and he said in a condensed voice, "The Mo family. How dare you? Yes. You really think I don't exist, right?" Long Yu continued. "The doctor with the broken arm was Feng Yu's apprentice. Mo Kei took him away from me, but unexpectedly sent him to the palace. Feng Yu's medical skills were rare in those days, and I was worried that her disciple would this will hinder our future plans." Listening to the two people's words, Lu Chen had an ominous premonition. It seemed like he heard something he shouldn't have heard. With Long Chen's urine, he wouldn't want to kill anyone and silence him, right? Long Yu said coldly, "Elder 17, go kill that kid immediately. Even if you can't get the news about Feng Ju from him, you must not let him ruin our plan. This Patriarch, the current situation can no longer be solved completely by killing him. Nan Shuangjia has ordered people to protect that kid. Even I can't kill him without him noticing." Long Yu suppressed the turmoil in his heart and said in an extremely low voice, 17th Elder, why are you telling me now? Are all the people I arranged to be around Nan Shuangjia dead? Master, Nan Shuangjia has blocked all news in the palace. I only got the news from the palace today. I understand, Elder 17, please step aside first. Yes. Long Yu seemed to have aged dozens of years in an instant. After the words fell, Long Yu's figure disappeared like a mist. Only Lu Chen and Long Chen were left in the antique attic, which made Lu Chen feel faintly uneasy. Lu Chen hesitated again and again, then slowly stood up and cupped his hands and said, "Master Long, I remembered that I still have something to do, so I will leave first." Long Chen glanced at Lu Chen indifferently, and said with gloomy eyes, "I heard that the medical skills you displayed in the Mo family are far superior to Huangzan. So, your medical skills shouldn't let me down, right?" Master Long, what do you mean? Since you already know my secret, I can never keep you, but I, Long Chen, am not a treacherous person. Help me sneak into the palace and lurk around Nan Shuangjia, and monitor his every move for me. If necessary, come on, help me kill him." Lu Chen thought briefly and said in a deep voice, "Master Long, do you think Nan Shuangjia will believe me? And, how do you guarantee my safety? You are mine now, and no one in the Nanshuang Empire dares to touch you." Long Chen's majestic voice sounded. "That's it. You go back and prepare first, then follow me to the palace tomorrow," Long Chen ordered, his voice revealing unquestionable majesty. Lu Chen twitched his lips and said to himself, "It's over. I didn't get the Shenong cauldron, but I got in first." Lu Chen returned to his small courtyard and found Long Yao standing quietly under the peach tree in the courtyard, looking at him with faint eyes. However, Long Yao's eyes as bright as stars kept avoiding Lu Chen's gaze, as if she had done something sinful and was afraid of being discovered. Lu Chen couldn't help but stepped forward and pinched Long Yao's cute little face. Long Yao was confused and said softly, "Lu Chen, what are you doing?" "What am I doing? I want to ask you why you betrayed me." Long Yao didn't know how to face Lu Chen, and she didn't want to tell Long Chen about Lu Chen, but because she was nervous, she told Long Chen everything at once. Thinking about it now, Long Yao felt really sorry for Lu Chen. "I'm sorry, Lu Chen. It's all my fault. Uncle Long Chen didn't make things difficult for you, right?" Long Yao apologized softly. She seemed to have caused trouble again. Long Yao lowered her head and muttered in a low voice, "I'm so stupid." Lu Chen smiled softly and said, "I knew it was you. Fortunately, Long Chen didn't make things difficult for me, but I will leave here tomorrow, and you can go back to your sister Long Baiyu who you miss so much." Long Yao's little hands had nowhere to place, her movements were slightly messy, and even her eyes showed a bit of confusion. She lightly opened her pink lips and said, "Lu Chen, where are you going? Is Uncle Long Chen going to drive you away? I'm sorry, it's all my fault. If I were smarter, I wouldn't tell anything about you." Although Long Yao is silly, she is really cute. Her naive look always made Lu Chen lower his guard against her. This may be one of the reasons why Long Chen arranged her to be with Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled and said, "If Long Chen really drives me away, it will be too late for me to be happy now." Hearing this, Long Yao raised her eyes in astonishment and asked in a low voice, "Didn't Uncle Long Chen drive you away?" "Of course, but tomorrow I will be sent to the palace by him to heal Emperor Nanshuang's wounds. It's just that my life or death is uncertain." That night, Lu Chen tossed and turned and couldn't sleep all night. He didn't know what kind of situation he would find himself in after entering the palace. Although the Nanshuang Empire has declined, its strength cannot be underestimated. Lu Chen felt endless hesitation in his heart. Maybe this was his chance to leave the Long family. At noon the next day, Long Chen appeared in Lu Chen's small courtyard. He stared at Lu Chen with complicated eyes and said, "After entering the temple, look at my eyes and act, and remember not to be reckless. I will arrange for someone to pick you up when the time comes." When Lu Chen was still about to say something, Long Chen had already stepped into the crack in space. Lu Chen followed, and after walking out of the space crack was the temple of the Nanshuang Empire. Outside the temple were all soldiers wearing silver-white armor. They did not show too much surprise at Long Chen's sudden intrusion. They seemed to be accustomed to Long Chen's behavior. It was quiet outside the ancient temple, and Lu Chen followed Long Chen as he walked forward. Inside the crystal-like temple, there are crystal lamps pendant that are as clear as glass. There are several huge Optimus stone pillars standing on both sides of the temple. Ancient runes are carved on the stone pillars, and a faint blue light emerges from the surface of the runes. Exuding a strange and powerful wave of true energy, the stone pillars seem to be some kind of special mechanism used to protect the temple. There was no one in the temple. On the throne above, a haggard-looking man slowly opened his eyes. He did not feel any irritation at Long Chen's appearance. He asked, Prime Minister Long doesn't seem to have to go to school today. Morning, right? As Nan Shuangji's voice fell, more than 10 soldiers in armor poured in from behind the temple. They stood on both sides of the temple, watching for Long Chen's every move. Then under Long Chen's gaze, an old man with sunken eyes and a rickety posture appeared like a ghost. He stood under Nan Shuangji's throne and asked in a cold voice, "Long Chen, who allowed you to trespass into the Holy Land without permission? From the palace?" Long Chen said calmly, "Master Wu, what do you mean? As the Prime Minister of the Nanshuang Empire, am I not even qualified to meet His Majesty?" "Long Chen, you are the Prime Minister, you should know the crime of breaking into the temple wantonly." The old man, whom Long Chen called Wu Guoshi, frowned with warnings in his eyes. Almost all the dignitaries in Nanshuang City knew about Long Chen's wild ambitions, and he was the only one who pretended to be confused. "Mr. Wu, please step aside for now. Prime Minister Long must have something important to report." Nan Shuangjia raised his arm with difficulty, signaling Wu Guoshi to step back. Lu Chen's eyes sparkled. Mr. Wu was the national master of the Nanshuang Empire, and the only powerful warrior who was loyal to Nanshuang Jia. It can be said that except for Mr. Wu in front of him, it is impossible to find anyone around Nanshuang Jia, the second god of war. It's just that Mr. Wu is also a fool. The Nanshuang Empire has declined to a great extent. He still stands beside Nanshuang Jia and fights against Long Chen without hesitation. His final result can be imagined. Long Chen smiled coldly and said, "I heard that Mo Ke recommended a miracle doctor to Your Majesty a few days ago. Your Majesty, do you know that the miracle doctor recommended by Mo Ke is the apprentice of Feng Zhu, who slipped through the net of the Feng family back then?" "Oh, is it so? Your Majesty, please hand over the thief to me so that I can capture Feng Zhu, the remnant of the Feng family," Long Chen said sonorously and forcefully, and there was no doubt in his words that he seemed to be ordering Nan Shuangjia. Same. To Long Chen's surprise, Nan Shuangjia refused directly. "Prime Minister Long, this is the grudge between your Long family and Feng family. When you accused the Feng family of colluding with the Baiming Empire, there was no substantive evidence. You just slaughtering the entire Feng family, this is really hard for me to understand. Don't you understand why His Majesty Kai Zisheng changed his mind? I did that for the safety of our Nanshuang Empire. That thief was most likely sent by Feng Zhu to take revenge on you. I'm worried that he will be detrimental to you." Long Chen Ben, his furrowed brows darkened again, and his eyes became a little more sinister. Nan Shuangjia smiled playfully and took revenge on him? "If Feng Zhu wants to take revenge, he also wants to take revenge on you, Long Chen. You bastard, how could you take revenge on me, Nan Shuangjia?" Nan Shuangjia said, "If this is what Prime Minister Long is doing today, please come back. Under the treatment of that miracle doctor, I feel that my condition is much better now." Nan Shuangjia's words made Long Chen's eyebrows twitch. He could have killed Nan Shuangjia and established himself as king. But Long Chen was worried that the other 6 major families of Nan Shuang would join forces to deal with him, so he hesitated to take action. All he is doing now is to make Nan Shuangjia his puppet and obey his orders. But now Chu Feng appears out of thin air. If he messes up his plan, the Long family's decades-long layout will be in vain. Master Wu said in a cold voice, "Did you hear this, Long Chen? Why don't you back down?" Long Chen clenched his hands tightly, and the powerful infuriating energy in his body circulated. Long Chen's actions made the atmosphere in the temple freeze to the extreme. The soldiers in armor were tense and guarded against Long Chen's every move. But soon Long Chen loosened his hands and said with a cold voice, "Since Your Majesty does not listen to my advice, I will not force you, but the doctors of the Long family must ensure your safety. This is Lu Chen. With him here, I can ensure your safety, Your Majesty." Nan Shuangjia and Wu Guoshi had already noticed Lu Chen, but because of Long Chen, they did not drive him out. Wu Guoshi's majestic voice sounded, "I have never seen Your Majesty's Long family be so attentive when he was critically ill. Now that His Majesty's health is improving, you have asked your Long family's doctors to treat His Majesty. What are you thinking about, Long Chen? Since you are also a doctor, tell me, what kind of disease does His Majesty have? If you can't answer, go back to where you came from." Wu Guoshi said with angry eyes. It can be seen that he is extremely angry now. Nan Shuangji's illness finally improved, so Long Chen impatiently sent people to the temple. Anyone with a discerning eye could see what he was thinking, but because of his identity, he was afraid of Long Chen jumping over the wall, so he didn't point him out. Lu Chen smiled faintly and stepped forward confidently. He looked at Nan Shuangji's gloomy face and said, "Your Majesty is neither sick nor poisoned, but has lost his soul." Under Nan Shuangji's surprised gaze, Lu Chen said, "Your Majesty, do you know that people have 3 souls and 7 souls? The soul is yin, and the soul is yang. Now your Majesty has lost 1 soul and 3 souls. If all 7 souls are lost, the soul of life will die." Nan Shuangjia and Wu Guoshi looked at each other for a moment. This was exactly the same as what Chu Feng said. They both said that Nan Shuangjia had lost 1 soul and 3 souls. If he lost 1 more soul, he would become a soulless puppet. Nan Shuangjia frowned and asked in a cold voice, "Then, do you have any cure?" Lu Chenshou is talking nonsense here. The theory of souls is illusory and unpredictable. I brought you here to treat His Majesty's illness, not to let you speak arrogant words and deceive your Majesty. Long Chen's voice was a bit cold. He didn't want to, and he scolded Lu Chen sternly to prevent Lu Chen from continuing. Long Chen was worried that if he continued to talk, he would say something outrageous. Nan Shuangjia ignored Long Chen and said, "Continue, is there a way to recover my lost soul? And why was my soul lost? Please answer it for me one by one." "Of course there is a way. But your Majesty's soul has been lost for 10 years. It is not easy to find it. As for how your Majesty's soul was lost, I have no way of knowing." Lu Chen shrugged casually. Lu Chen naturally knew that Long Chen was responsible for all this, but now was not the time to fight Long Chen, not to mention that Nan Shuangjia also knew who the culprit of all this was. Lu Chen had a lot to consider. What he had to do now was not only to gain Nan Shuangji's trust, but also to put himself in an absolutely safe situation. Lu Chen faintly heard the gritting sound in Long Chen's mouth. He brought Lu Chen to the temple not really to let Lu Chen treat Nan Shuangjia. Seeing that Long Chen was angry, Lu Chen said again, "Your Majesty, I think Chu Feng should have told you about your illness a long time ago, right?" Nan Shuangjia said calmly, "What you said is indeed the same as Divine Dr. Chu, but this does not mean that you can stay in the temple." Long Chen was stunned for 2 seconds, and then suddenly realized, and the anger in his heart disappeared. It turns out that Nan Shuangjia already knew these things. Lu Chen's words were just to gain Nan Shuangji's trust. In order for Lu Chen to stay with Nan Shuangjia justifiably, Long Chen turned his eyes to Nan Shuangjia and said coldly, "Your Majesty, Lu Chen's medical skills are far superior to Chu Feng. I hope you can listen to my advice and keep Lu Chen here, in the temple, just in case. If you don't agree, I can only take down Chu Feng for your safety to avoid future troubles." Presumptuous! Wu Guoshi roared angrily, and the majestic qi in his body flowed out like a tide. Long Chen was also not to be outdone. He released his powerful qi breath, and the 2 pressures competed in the Nanshuang temple. Long Chen seemed to have the upper hand. Nan Shuangjia felt the heart-stopping fluctuations, and he sighed. "That's all, I'll do it for you. Lu Chen can stay by my side." Over the years, although the heads of the 7 major Nanshuang families have shown signs of overstepping their bounds, none of them has threatened Nanshuangjia as unscrupulously as Long Chen. Nan Shuangjia knew nothing about the Long family's background, and he could only turn a blind eye to what Long Chen did. "Your Majesty, you can understand my good intentions, and I am very grateful." Then, Long Chen took a deep look at Lu Chen and said, "Lu Chen, I promised you that I will not break my promise. After Emperor Nanshuang recovers from his illness, I will fulfill my promise." Lu Chen's heart sank suddenly. Long Chen seemed reckless but was actually extremely cautious. His purpose never seemed to be to let Lu Chen gain Nan Shuangjia's trust, but just to keep Lu Chen in the temple and monitor Nan Shuangjia's status for him. That's why he said this, to make Nan Shuangjia wary of Lu Chen. "I resign." After Long Chen finished speaking, his body faded like a mist and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. "Since you can see that I have lost my soul, I guess you are somewhat capable. Don't you really have no way to save me?" Nan Shuangji's face was very pale, and even his eyes were in a daze. It seems that the current sick state is Nan Shuangji's real physical condition. "Of course I have a solution, but your Majesty's symptoms are too severe, so please give me 3 days to think of a solution." Nan Shuangjia sighed softly and said, "I believe you for the time being. Please retreat first. I will arrange a place for you. Yes. After Lu Chen left, Nan Shuangjie could no longer hold on and collapsed on the throne. He said weakly, Master Wu, what he said is exactly the same as what Chu Feng said. Did Long Chen really ask him to treat me? Sickness? Wu Guoshi calmly analyzed. No. The relationship between Long Chen and him is probably not a simple master-servant relationship. The promise Long Chen mentioned should be a transaction between the two of them. Then do you think I should believe him? Wu Guoshi shook his head and said nothing. How could people from Long Chen be so gullible? After Lu Chen left the temple, he was taken to a palace by a maid. The palace was very luxurious, several levels higher than the shabby courtyard that Long Chen arranged for him. After entering the palace, Lu Chen took out the Medicine King's code from the system space, tapped the Medicine King's code with his fingers and said, He Lingxi, come out quickly. What herbs are needed to help Nan Shuangjie find his soul? A small spirit crawled out of the Medicine King's code, but He Lingxi's body was more solid than before. It seemed that she had not been idle these days. I don't know how many spiritual herbs she had absorbed while hiding in the Medicine King's code. He Lingxi's beautiful eyes stared at Lu Shen with resentment, and said softly, You want to save him? I advise you to stop meddling in other people's business. He has already lost 1 soul and 3 souls, and he will be reduced to a human body within 3 months. A puppet without any consciousness. 3 months. Will Nan Shuangjie completely become Long Chen's puppet? This was much earlier than Lu Chen expected, so you should have a way to save him, right? Of course, but if you want to save him, you must find the soul yin-yang grass. This kind of spiritual grass that nourishes the soul has long since disappeared, and there is not a single one among the hundreds of millions of spiritual grasses in the Mo family's Baisao pavilion. He Lingxi opened her icy lips, took out a spiritual grass from the Medicine King's manual, and started refining it on her own. Soul yin-yang grass, this. Why does it feel so familiar to me? Isn't this the spiritual grass that Chu Feng got in a secret realm later in the plot? I remember that the secret realm was called the Holy Ruins. It was the place where the battle between the demons, humans and barbarians took place. This secret realm seems to it is controlled by the Nanshuang Empire and is opened every 100 years. 97 years have passed since the last time it was opened. You know a lot, you even know about the Battle of the Holy Ruins. I think back then, I also experienced the Battle of the Holy Ruins. I am not bragging to you, but I don't know how many bad guys from the barbarians died at my hands. Woolen cloth. Hey, Lu Chen, are you listening to what I'm saying? Lu Chen raised his eyes, looked at He Lingxi and asked, Are you talking to me? Lu Chen, I'm so angry. I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. He Lingxi's star-like eyes flickered slightly, and she returned to the Medicine King's code angrily. 3 days later, Master Wu came to Lu Chen and asked, How have you been thinking in these 3 days? Is there any way to cure His Majesty's illness? Back to Master Wu, I have already thought of a way. If you want your Majesty, you only need 1 spiritual grass. That spiritual grass is called Soul Yin-Yang grass. This spiritual grass can help your Majesty to rest his soul and nourish his spirit. It will not be controlled by any soul within 100 years. Wu Guoshi frowned when he heard this, and then a thick ancient book appeared in his palm. He frowned secretly and began to search for information about the Soul Yin-Yang grass in the ancient book. After a long time, Master Wu murmured in shock, This Soul Yin-Yang grass has been extinct for 500 years. This kind of spiritual grass can only grow in the ancient secret realm. Is there no other way? Lu Chen sighed softly and said in a somewhat sad tone, Well, I think you know His Majesty's symptoms, Master Wu. According to my inference, in another 3 months, your Majesty will become a walking corpse without a soul. Master Wu, if you want to save your Majesty, you must find the Soul Yin-Yang grass within 3 months to be able to save your Majesty. The reason why Lu Chen told Master Wu was naturally because he wanted Master Wu to convince Nan Shuangjie to open the secret realm of the Holy Ruins 3 years in advance. In the realm of the Holy Ruins, there are not only many artifacts scattered around, but also the remaining souls of ancient martial gods. Moreover, within the Nanshuang Empire, Lu Chen had no chance to make a move against Chu Feng. Nan Shuangjie seemed to know the relationship between him and Chu Feng, so he did not let the two meet for a long time, which was a disguised form of protection for Chu Feng. But once the Holy Ruins realm is opened, Chu Feng will naturally not miss this opportunity. Once he enters the Holy Ruins' secret realm, Xu Feng will be reduced to a fish on a knife and can only be slaughtered by Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled indifferently and said, Master Wu, this is not a problem that I should consider. I have already told you the method to cure His Majesty. It is your business to do what you do. Of course, if you think Xu Feng has a way, you can also choose to believe him. Wu Guoxi was speechless for a moment. Xu Feng. The boy hesitated for a long time and couldn't come up with anything. He only told Emperor Nanshuang that his master Fengju must have a way. But how could Long Chen let Feng Ju easily step into Nanshuang City? He couldn't afford to wait for 3 months, and Nan Shuangjia couldn't even wait. If Nan Shuangjia really becomes Long Chen's puppet, then he can only kill Nan Shuangjia and then make Nan Shuangran the king. Even if he is charged with regicide, Long Chen's plot will never succeed. I understand, and I will tell His Majesty what you said truthfully. Wu Guoxi looked at Lu Chen with his deep eyes, and then disappeared from Lu Chen's eyes. Seeing how anxious he looked, he should know Nan Shuangji's situation at this time better than Lu Chen. Now Nan Shuangjia has no choice. Lu Chen smiled playfully, as if everything was under his control. If the realm of the Holy Ruins is opened 3 years in advance, many people will not be able to arrive in time, and the pressure of competition will be much less. 3 days later, news came out from the Nanshuang Temple that made the entire Nanshuang city excited. The Nanshuang Empire was going to open the realm of the Holy Ruins 3 years in advance. As soon as this news came out, Nanshuang City was in a panic. After the 7 major families received the news, they all speculated on Nan Shuangjia's purpose. Nan Shuangjia was afraid that his life was not long, so he was so anxious to find a way to extend his life. Many people even angrily complained about the Southern Frost Empire. Although only the Southern Frost Empire had the forbidden secret method to open the Holy Ruins realm, opening the secret realm 3 years in advance caused many people who were still retreating for this secret realm to miss out on entering the secret realm. Chance. Lu Chen was walking leisurely in the Nanshuang Empire, but he bumped into Nan Shuangren. Nan Shuangren was surrounded by many maids like a bright moon. She moved her slender jade legs and stepped out from Lu Chen's body. Passing by, his eyes never fell on Lu Chen for a second. Looking at the direction Nan Shuangren left, Lu Chen secretly said, Is that Nan Shuangren? After Lu Chen became familiar with the environment near Nanshuang Temple, he returned to the palace arranged for him by Emperor Nanshuang. He found that there were maids standing outside the palace. Those maids were all dressed in red palace clothes, and they were obviously the maids of Nanshuang ran before. Seeing Lu Chen appear, the leader opened his red lips and said coldly, Is this Dr. Lu Chen? That's right. You are so brave. You dare to make Her Royal Highness the Princess wait for 3 hours. You are the first one. Chuya, let him come in. Nan Shuangren's ice-spirited voice sounded in the palace. Yes, Your Highness Princess. With Nan Shuangren's permission, Lu Chen entered the palace. I saw Nan Shuang dyed with 3,000 black hair naturally hanging down to her waist. Her light blue dress was still inlaid with dazzling pearls and jade. She was sitting on the jade bed in the palace, and her slender and straight jade legs were gently closed. Staring at Lu Chen with gleaming starry eyes, and said angrily, Why don't you kneel down when you see me? Lu Chen suppressed his anger and said, Kneel down. Why should I kneel down? I am not a minister of your Nanshuang Empire. Why should I kneel down for you, a princess of a declining empire? Nan Shuangren's eyes trembled violently. How brave he was. Nan Shuangran opened her lips lightly and said coldly and proudly, You, a little doctor, dare to challenge the majesty of our Nan Shuang Empire. Lu Chen shrugged indifferently, ignoring the annoyed look on Nan Shuangran's face, and said with a playful smile, Your Highness, just lie to others, don't lie to yourself. Nan Shuangren bit her lips. She raised her starry eyes with Yubo in shock and looked at Lu Chen in confusion. When did she lie? Women are extremely sensitive creatures. She will guess what you want to express from your words. Just like Nan Shuangren, Lu Chen's words kept echoing in her mind, but she never read them. Understand the meaning of Lu Chen's words. Perhaps Nan Shuangren's arrogance and domineering behavior deceived her into thinking that she was her true self. She seemed to have forgotten the weak self she once was. What do you mean? When did I, the princess, deceive you? Nan Shuangren said arrogantly and rudely, pointing at Lu Chen with his well-jointed jade finger. Lu Chen ignored her and asked directly, I don't know what your highness wants from me. I don't have time to play some house games with you. I'm here to tell you on behalf of my father, because the realm of the Holy Ruins will be opened 3 years in advance. Taking into account the unstable factors, my father hopes that you can stay in the temple to prevent my father's attack. The condition is getting worse. Nan Shuangren stated his intention. As this Nan Shuangjia's intention, or Shufeng's intention, if you keep me in the temple, aren't you afraid that I will join forces with Long Chen to destroy you? Nan Shuang. Lu Chen, the deep voice revealed strong murderous intent. Just one sentence made Nan Shuangren pale in horror, leaving only a pale white on her cold face carved from ice. She stood up from the bed tremblingly, and ran out of the palace with light steps. A clear sword cry sounded, echoing in the cold palace. Xuanyuan's sword flashed with cold sword light and pressed against Nan Shuangren's snow-white neck. An unprecedented death swept into her heart. Nan Shuangren paused, his star-like glazed eyes darkened. The sharp sword light and deep fear made Nan Shuangren fall into a temporary loss of consciousness. In an instant, all her arrogance and self-esteem were trampled under the soles of Lu Chen's feet and severely ravaged. Nan Shuangren is still the timid princess. Even if she tries to act brave, the fear in her heart makes her tremble even when she speaks. She hates herself like this, and she hates her identity even more. There was a hint of sarcasm in the corner of Lu Chen's mouth, and his eyes were dark as he said, Your Highness, you have been waiting for me for 3 hours, why are you in such a hurry to leave now? Nan Shuangren lowered her eyes and looked at the Xuanyuan sword at her neck. Her delicate body trembled slightly. You dare to kill me? If you kill this princess, you will never leave the Nanshuang temple today. Oh, really? Do you think Nan Shuangjia will put the entire Nanshuang Empire into a situation of eternal disaster because of you? Think about your 2 brothers. Even if Nan Shuangjia knows that Long Chen did it, he has still not choose to turn a blind eye to this matter? Lu Chen laughed jokingly and said that in his opinion, the only person in the entire Nanshuang Empire who dared to yell at Long Chen was Wu Guoxi. As for Nan Shuangjia, he is just a waste half buried in the ground. Lu Chen's words fell deeply into Nan Shuangren's ears, and the horror in her eyes gradually turned into eternal despair. She was really too naive and too ignorant. The current Long Chen was definitely not what the declining Nanshuang Empire could do. Provoked. Nan Shuangren said in despair, So what do you want? Since your Nanshuang Empire is in charge of the secret method of opening the Holy Ruins, I think Nan Shuangjia should have a map of the secret territory of the Holy Ruins, right? Nan Shuangren stared at Lu Chen with her beautiful eyes. She secretly felt that Lu Chen was more dangerous than Long Chen. Is this her imagination? After thinking for a moment, she opened her red lips and said, No, the Holy Ruins are much larger than we thought, and there is no time to survey. And every time the teleportation gate is randomly opened in the secret realm, the secret realm is only open for a short period of 1 month. However, because the secret realm is opened 3 years in advance this time, the Holy Ruins realm is very likely to be closed 7 days in advance, and then it must wait another 100 years before the secret realm will be reopened. But the Holy Ruins are full of dangers. No one has ever lived in it for more than 100 years. Lu Chen only had a vague impression of what Nan Shuangren said. She didn't seem to be lying. At this moment, Nan Shuangren probably didn't have the guts to deceive Lu Chen. Lu Chen glanced at her and continued to ask, 3 weeks. This is too hasty. Do you know how many people come to participate every time the secret realm is opened? The specific number of people is unclear. In the past, it was close to tens of thousands. However, this time the Holy Ruins secret realm was opened 3 years in advance, and some warriors simply did not have time to participate. Lu Chen's eyes flickered, and he had some understanding of this secret realm. He put down the Xuanyuan sword that was pressed against Nan Shuangren's neck, and a shallow blood mark appeared on the snow-white neck. Nan Shuangren breathed a sigh of relief quietly and asked, Can I leave, princess? I have told you everything you want to know. This subtle atmosphere makes people feel funny inexplicably. Of course you can. But please remember not to provoke me easily. The relationship between Long Chen and me is not as simple as you think, Lu Chen warned. Nan Shuangren's knuckled jade fingers gently clenched her fists, and a powerless sense of humiliation spread throughout her heart. A princess of an empire was yelled at by a little doctor at will, but she did not dare to muster any strength to refute. Then Nan Shuangren moved his straight and slender jade legs and walked out of the palace. Seeing Nan Shuangren walking out of the palace, the group of maids in red palace clothes immediately greeted him. "Your Highness. Get away." Nan Shuangren seemed to have found a place to vent her inner humiliation. She raised her delicate arms and pushed the maid to the ground wantonly. "Now she doesn't want to stay here for a moment. I just want to find a place to cry. Vent out all the grievances in your heart." The maid who was pushed to the ground by Nan Shuangren did not dare to be angry at all. She hurriedly followed to comfort Nan Shuangren, but when she saw the blood marks on Nan Shuangren's neck, she completely lost her voice. That audacious doctor actually dared to harm the princess of the Nanshuang Empire. After Lu Chen spent 7 days peacefully in Nanshuang Temple, it was finally time for the Holy Ruins realm to open. Lu Chen avoided everyone's sight and, like many others, came to the ruins where the Holy Ruins were located a day in advance. The secret realm of the Holy Ruins is located in a deserted land. It is thousands of miles north of Nanshuang City. There is a huge circular stone gate suspended in the sky above the ruins. The stone gate is carved with ancient patterns, and the breath of vicissitudes of life blows against your face. It is like an eye in the sky. The stone gate is the entrance to the secret realm of the Holy Ruins. The open space below the secret realm is filled with an endless sea of people, and the sound of boiling discussions echoes through the sky. Those who are preparing to enter the secret realm of the Holy Ruins here are mostly warriors from the 7 major families of Nanshuang. Ordinary warriors have no support and dare not easily set foot in the secret realm. Once they enter the secret realm, their life and death are no longer within their control. There was a faint white light in Lu Chen's eyes. In the dragon soul state, he could clearly feel the powerful fluctuations of true energy coming from all around. There are dozens of powerful martial gods in total. Apart from them, there must be other powerful martial gods who have not shown up. The treasures of heaven and earth and the martial arts inheritance in the secret territory of the Holy Ruins are enough to drive any warrior into madness, even the martial god. So does the strong. It is rumored that the Long family's Shenong cauldron, Liuyan sword and other ancient artifacts were obtained in the secret realm of the Holy Ruins. Lu Chen looked at the huge stone gate above the dim sky. A terrifying pressure spread from the stone gate, making it impossible for ordinary people to get close. The Holy Ruins' secret realm is indeed well deserved. I'm afraid a battle will be necessary, Lu Chen murmured to himself. Brother, are you alone? Are you interested in traveling with me? A strange voice sounded from behind Lu Chen, making him turn around. He was a thin young man in a green shirt. He smiled faintly, giving people a gentle look. Seeing that Lu Chen was unmoved, he continued to invite. Brother, I think you are alone and have no background. Warriors, if you want to get treasures in the secret realm of the Holy Ruins without being robbed, it's best to form a team. Lu Chen smiled indifferently and refused. No need, I'm used to being alone. If you want to form a team, you should find someone else. Seeing Lu Chen's refusal, the young man could only nod helplessly. Without any further entanglement, he turned around and left, continuing to look for suitable warriors to form a team with. Lu Chen looked at him deeply, his expression unwavering. He said that no one in the ancient martial arts world was trustworthy. Lu Chen would not believe anyone except himself. Lu Chen could not guarantee that after he found the ancient secret treasure, his companions would not have any covetous intentions. Although it was more dangerous to be alone, it was much better than being betrayed by his companions. As time passed little by little, it was finally time for the Holy Ruins to open. Under the gaze of everyone, the 4 8th-grade demigod warriors from the Southern Frost Empire spread their pure white wings on their backs, and they flew towards the gate of the Holy Ruins suspended in midair. Is it finally time to start? My sword is already thirsty? What a noisy guy. Please pray that you don't meet me when you enter the realm of the Holy Ruins, otherwise you will become a dead soul under my sword. The Southern Frost Empire bless me. If you don't want to miss an ancient artifact, at least let me encounter some opportunities. My damn luck. The 4 warriors in armor flashed bright seals in front of them. The seals became brighter and brighter. It seemed that there was a mysterious and ancient force pulling the stone door. The 4 seals with complex lines slowly fell. Within the stone gate instantly shone brightly like daylight. The stone door suspended above the sky slowly opened under the gaze of tens of thousands of eyes, and then a deep and dim black hole appeared in front of everyone. The black hole exuded a strange aura and could swallow even the true energy. The light emitted by the stone gate was swallowed up by the black hole and lost all its luster. The majestic true energy overflowed from the black hole, and there was a strong suction force from the secret realm that swallowed everything in the outside world. Under that powerful swallowing power, the bodies of many weak warriors flew towards that place uncontrollably, deep black hole. The warrior who entered the secret realm for the first time acted very panicked and kept struggling in the air, which made the older and experienced warriors laugh secretly. This is just the Holy Ruins realm screening warriors who enter the secret realm. Those who are not talented enough will not be selected and can only watch others enter. Ha ha ha, I'll take the first step. The big man laughed wildly, and then was swallowed up by the strange black hole in front of everyone, and successfully entered the realm of the Holy Ruins. Damn it, he got the first step. The realm of the Holy Ruins must choose me this time. I have already missed 2 opportunities. Please open your eyes and take a good look at me. The sounds of prayers came from all around Lu Chen, making Lu Chen smile slightly. It has to be said that the selection conditions for the Holy Ruins realm are extremely harsh. The old man who missed entering the secret realm twice has the strength of an 8th-grade demigod. It is a pity that such a strong man was not selected. Not long after, Lu Chen felt his body become lighter, and he began to slowly rise amidst the envious and jealous eyes of everyone. Lu Chen looked indifferent, and a fire feather burning with phoenix wings appeared behind him, and he shot into the strange entrance like a shooting star. The firelight he radiated was extremely dazzling, causing many warriors to look up. Among them is Chu Feng and others who are still under the secret realm. Master, that's Lu Chen, sure enough, he's here too. Xie Yuxuan murmured with his eyes fixed in surprise, pointing his jade finger at Lu Chen's disappearing back. Beside her were not only Feng Zhu and Chu Feng, but also the 2 Mo Ke brothers, Chu Yingxue, and a strange man. That handsome man behaved very closely with Chu Yingxue, and he was most likely Chu Yingxue's husband, Song Li, the eldest son of the Song family, the 7 major families of Nanshuang. Once the Saint Ruins realm is opened, you have to wait for 100 years if you want to enter it again. Fengju will naturally not miss it. Even if her injuries have not recovered, she will enter the secret realm to find opportunities for Chu Feng to break through. Feng Zhu's narrow phoenix eyes flickered at Yu Bo, and a trace of undetectable murderous intent flashed through her. Her eyes suddenly turned cold, she gritted her teeth slightly and said to herself, Lu Chen, the only thing I regret now is that I didn't kill you when I drove you out of Huayang Mountain. Chu Feng's blood boiled and he said, Master, it is indeed Lu Chen, but it seems that he is the only one. Chu Feng was extremely excited at this moment. Lu Chen was the only one, so he would definitely die this time. A dark and cold light flashed in the depths of Chu Feng's eyes. All the humiliation he had suffered before could finally be returned to Lu Chen, as well as the revenge of his broken arm. Feng Zhu nodded silently, but she didn't expect Mo He on the side to say in surprise, Mo Ke, he is indeed the thief who stole all of my Mo family's Baisao pavilion. I will never forget those phoenix wings. When Lu Chen left the Mo family, he decisively chose to expose the existence of phoenix flame wings in order to escape before Mo He noticed. Now Mo He could easily identify Lu Chen's identity from the pair of flame wings. Lu Chen is indeed that shameless thief. In the entire Southern Frost Empire, I am afraid that I will never find another person who can condense the phoenix flame wings. As soon as Mo He finished speaking, Mo Ke was shocked all over. He slowly clenched his hands and gritted his teeth and said, Let's go. Yes. As more and more people are selected by the Holy Ruins realm, above the sky, the overwhelming flow of people is like locusts, pouring into the deep and dim hollow. The territory of the Holy Ruins is a chaotic space, but it is not bleak without any light. The strange black hole is an existence that can swallow even light. The entire space seemed to be covered by thick black clouds. But the majestic true energy rippling within the secret realm is more than 3 times richer than the outside world. Even if a warrior enters the territory of the Holy Ruins and practices for a whole month without eating or drinking, it is still a worthwhile trip. After Lu Chen entered the realm of the Holy Ruins, the desolate scene in front of him was replaced by mountains and valleys. The blade-like peaks thrust straight into the sky, dividing the dim sky into 2. Lu Chen flapped his phoenix flame wings, flying around like headless flies like many warriors. The entrance to this secret realm was opened randomly. There was no fixed location, and there was no so-called map. Obtaining the treasure depended on luck. Lu Chen looked at the mountains and ravines below him. This secret realm was inhabited by ancient demonic beasts that had long since disappeared from the ancient martial arts world. Their demonic elixirs were several times more effective than those of ordinary demonic beasts. Lu Chen briefly identified the direction. At this time, he didn't have a clear target. After leaving traces that could identify his direction, he flapped his phoenix wings and flew deep into the mountains. Lu Chen took out the artifact map from the system space. Although he never believed in his luck, what if the artifact map was illuminated? Perhaps Lu Chen should place more hopes on Chu Feng. Although Chu Feng now has little luck left, the Son of Destiny is protected by heaven. The more desperate he is, the more opportunities he will encounter to change his destiny. I really don't know what kind of surprise Chu Feng will bring to Lu Chen in this secret realm. The dark night was thick, and an unknown dark green giant bird soared in the sky. Its dark green eyes were burning with strange light. Its huge figure covering 100 feet covered the mountains, and its long chirping sound penetrated the cracked gold and stone. Everywhere the trees trembled, and the beasts trembled. Among the mountains and valleys, a giant beast with silver-white hair without a stray hair opened its spiritual eyes. Those eyes were like two blood moons, exuding a heart-stopping sense of danger. It looked up to the sky and howled. The roar tore through the dark night, and even the earth began to tremble. In the realm of the holy ruins, the night is 100 times more dangerous than the day. Smart warriors will choose to find a safe place to hide in order to prevent being taken as prey by those ancient monsters. Lu Chen was no exception. He found a cold stone cave before the holy ruins lost its last light. There were traces of beasts living in the cave. The rotten remains of monsters on the ground showed that this place had been there for a long time. No monsters have come, so it is safe for now. Lu Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. The strange roar made people's scalp numb. The roar seemed to be mixed with the power of true energy, which would make people temporarily lose their soul. However, because Lu Chen can already easily control the dragon soul state, he doesn't have to worry about being disturbed by this kind of sound. Lu Chen sat down cross-legged and opened the system's shopping mall. The only thing he doesn't know now is Chu Feng's location. The realm of the holy ruins is boundless, and he may not be able to meet Chu Feng even if the secret realm is closed. He must find a way to know Chu Feng's movements. The props in the system flashed across Lu Chen's eyes. Lu Chen's eyes focused on a red string, and a trace of heat emerged from his eyes. Lu Chen murmured. The soul rope can link a person's soul. The user can sense his position. It can only be used on people whose strength is lower than his own. Price: 100,000 life points. Another 100,000. There is nothing cheap in this system mall. However, after Lu Chen knew the function of the soul rope, he did not hesitate and directly exchanged it with 100,000 destiny points. Current destiny value: 100,000. Immediately afterwards, a red string appeared in Lu Chen's palm. His eyes flickered slightly. After reading Chu Feng's name, Chu Feng's appearance appeared in his mind. The red string continued to extend from Lu Chen's fingertips, passing through it. Passing through the thick darkness, he locked onto Chu Feng's position. Only Lu Chen could see this red color. Even if the link is on Chu Feng will not be able to detect it. A quarter of an hour later, Lu Chen clearly felt Chu Feng's whereabouts. He was now thousands of miles away from Lu Chen. Lu Chen's eyes suddenly condensed. In this way, even if you are wiped out, you can't escape from my grasp. I just don't know if that bitch Feng Zhu has entered the realm of the holy ruins. If you dare to come, I will let you witness with your own eyes the whole process of Chu Feng disappearing into ashes. Previously, because Feng Zhu was injured by Long Baiyu, her level fell from the 8th grade demigod to the martial emperor. Now even Lu Chen can easily control her. But what worries Lu Chen is the woman Chu Yingxue. She is a problem. The realm of the holy ruins is filled with the breath of death, and the endless darkness surges, exuding endless chill, causing people to panic. Lu Chen spent the entire night in the cave. He would not be stupid enough to go out and die and become the midnight snack of ancient monsters. The next day, the morning light passed through the thick clouds and shone into the endless mountains. Lu Chen withdrew from his cultivation state. Lu Chen's cultivation talent can only be described as average, if it weren't for various adventures and opportunities. Lu Chen might not even be able to reach the threshold of the 6th grade martial saint in this life. Diligence sometimes really cannot make up for the gap between talents. Lu Chen walked out of the cave. His burning eyes swept across the mountains and valleys. the phoenix flame wings behind him slowly unfolded. With a sudden flutter, he flew towards Chu Feng's position. Unknowingly, a dignified and heavy temple appeared in front of Lu Chen. The chaotic sounds of fighting came from the temple made of huge rocks, making the holy ruins seem particularly noisy. There are several bloodthirsty eagles hovering above the temple, and their sharp claws can tear even boulders apart. They are waiting for the fighting below to end. Enjoy the delicious and fresh corpses in the temple. Lu Chen pushed his speed to the extreme and fell outside the temple like a rain of fire and meteors. In the pool of blood outside the temple, there were several corpses that had not yet cooled down. Those eagles were waiting for these corpses. Here. Lu Chen was a little surprised. He didn't expect that there was a temple in this barren mountain. If he guessed correctly, this was definitely a human temple from ancient times, which meant there must be opportunities hidden here. The modeled stone temple is 100 feet high. Outside the temple are two giant stone statues that are dozens of feet tall. Complex and obscure runes are engraved on the stone statues. One of the stone statues holds a giant axe, and the other holds a giant hammer. They seem to he is the guardian of this temple. But due to the passage of time, they lost energy and became lifeless stone statues, completely silent outside the temple. After Lu Chen landed steadily, he took out the artifact map from the system space. But to his disappointment, the artifact map was not illuminated. It seems that this stone temple does not contain the artifact he expected. But these warriors fighting here must have found some treasure. Even if it's not a divine weapon, it's still a rare opportunity. This was the first time Lu Chen came across a treasure in the holy ruins. How could he miss it? Lu Chen's pupils condensed. There were dozens of warriors in front of him. Most of them were in the late stage of martial emperor, and one was an early stage 8th grade demigod. One of them was a young man who invited Lu Chen to form a team outside the holy ruins. Unexpectedly, he met him here. Among their surroundings, there were 3 people holding long swords, their arms hanging down, and their blood-stained green shirts moving in the wind. It seems that the treasure in this stone palace is in the hands of the 3 of them, otherwise it would not be besieged by so many warriors. The moment Lu Chen appeared, the warriors in the temple froze slightly. Their eyes met with Lu Chen's, and their expressions became solemn. Then they looked at each other and burst out with fierce energy, trying to scare Lu Chen and make him retreat. Lu Chen ignored the warnings of those warriors and stepped straight into the temple. The warrior who once had a chance encounter with Lu Chen warned, "Brother, leave quickly. We don't want to hurt innocent people." "Lu Ba, do you know him?" A middle-aged man with black hair and bronze skin asked in a deep voice, pointing a broad knife in his hand. The strong man's name is Shi Hu, and he is now equivalent to the captain of this team. Lu Ba shook his head and said, "I don't know him, but before the Holy Ruins realm opened, I had a relationship with him. I once invited him to form a team with me, but he refused. Ignore him for now. Grab the stone key from this loser's hand and then talk about it." Lu Chen. Feeling the murderous intent deep in Shi Hu's eyes, the 3 people asked for help as if grasping a life-saving straw. "Brother, help me. I am willing to give you the key to activate the giant spirit stone statue." Lu Chen's eyes also condensed at this moment, falling on the stone key in the hand of one of the 3 people. The key to moving the stone statue? Could it be that this stone key is the key to controlling the 2 stone statues outside the temple? The phoenix flame wings behind Lu Chen flapped violently, and burst out under the horrified eyes of everyone, snatching the key from the hands of the 3 people. No one realized what happened. They only saw a rainbow light passing in front of their eyes, and then, the stone key that activated the stone statue appeared in Lu Chen's hand. What a speed! In the temple, everyone looked at Lu Chen in astonishment, and then Shi Hu became furious and burst out with unrivaled chi. He roared, "You bastard, give me the stone key." Lu Chen smiled coldly and said, "The treasures in the secret realm can only be obtained by those who are capable. These treasures are not something that a miscreant like you should covet. Shi Hu is talking nonsense to him, just kill him. Everyone come together." The strong man with bronzed skin said angrily, and then started fighting towards Lu Chen. The crowd swarmed towards Lu Chen like locusts. Violent zhenqi rippled between heaven and earth. After Lu Chen grabbed the stone key, they no longer hesitated for a moment. There was only one thought in their minds: kill Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled playfully, looking at these desperate warriors. As he flapped his phoenix wings, his figure appeared in the midair like a ghost, staring at the people below with a stern expression. Seeing that the attack was in vain, Shihu roared angrily. This kid's movements are weird, don't hold back. Splitting mountain fist. Thunder palm. Palm skills and boxing skills were mixed together, and they were blasting towards Lu Chen above the temple. The violent Zhenqi fluctuations swept across the temple. Lu Chen frowned and shouted loudly, "Fengqi sky dance." A phantom of a phoenix fluttered out from behind him. In an instant, the temperature in the temple skyrocketed. The phoenix, burning with violent flames, let out a clear cry and fought towards the offensive of palm and fist techniques. Boom! Boom! The sound of successive explosions echoed in the empty temple. The airwaves generated by the explosion shocked some unlucky guys to the point where their blood flowed backwards and their breath was disordered. Shihu. This kid is not simple. Lu Ba's face looked a little ugly. They all seemed to have underestimated this boy who was in the realm of Emperor Wu. He could defeat all of their martial arts with just one move, which was beyond their knowledge. What's more, Shihu has the strength of an 8th grade demigod, but he can't do anything to him. The reason why Lu Chen didn't leave immediately was because he didn't know if there were any other treasures in the temple. After dealing with these miscellaneous fish, he would search the temple carefully. It is impossible for these few warriors to pose any threat to him. A mere 8th grade demigod in the early stage could be destroyed by Lu Chen with his hands. There was a look of disdain in Lu Chen's eyes, and he joked, "Just use a few of you to test how strong these two ancient stone statues are." Immediately afterwards, under everyone's surprised gazes, Lu Chen poured his true energy into the stone key, and the stone key burst out with bright light. The stone key flew towards the stone statue outside the stone hall and fell into the stone statue. Boom! The stone statue seemed to have some strange connection with Lu Chen. Thousands of years of dust rolled off the stone statue's body. Light patterns filled the surface of the huge body. It walked into the temple under the control of Lu Chen's thoughts. Every step it takes makes the ground tremble, and even cracks appear on the ground. The two giant spirit stone statues, holding giant axes and giant hammers respectively, walked towards the direction of the stone tiger with heavy steps. Shihu's eyes were horrified, and he cursed angrily, "Damn thing." The 10-foot-long giant stone statue raised its giant axe and hammer, splitting the sky with one axe and cracking the ground with the other. There was no fancy giant axe falling, and the domineering power tore open the floor of the temple, and the bottomless ravine spread to the soles of the stone tiger. Spider web-like cracks bloomed under the giant hammer, and the entire temple sank slightly. The sudden change caught Shihu off guard. He jumped up suddenly and suspended his body in midair. Everyone followed Shihu's example to avoid falling into the endless abyss. Don't panic. As long as you take out the stone key, the connection between the stone statue and that kid will be blocked. Shihu analyzed it very confidently. His words instantly stabilized everyone, and then they started looking for the stone key around the stone statue. Lu Mo stared silently at the bottom of the temple. The two stone statues almost had the strength of the late 8th grade demigods. However, because they had no sanity, they could not use martial arts and could only rely on brute force to fight. This undoubtedly greatly reduced the combat effectiveness of the giant spirit stone statues. The biggest problem is that the speed of the giant stone statue is too slow. Shihu and others can easily avoid their attacks. Is there any way to increase the speed of the giant stone statue? It seems that in the ancient martial arts world there is a profession called spiritual formation master. If the formation is engraved into the stone statues, it might be possible for the stone statues to master martial arts, thereby increasing their speed and greatly increasing their combat power. Damn it! Shihu, I can't even find where the stone key is inserted. After several searches, Lu Ba and others were unable to find the stone key from the stone statue. Perhaps only by killing that boy Lu Chen could the stone statue stop running. Shihu soon realized the seriousness of the problem. He slapped the body of the stone statue with a sudden slap. The palm did not cause any waves, as if he was tickling the stone statue. "Brothers, come with me and kill that kid," Shihu roared, his figure running like a ghost on the tall body of the stone statue, killing Lu Chen above the temple. Fire desolation slash. The broadsword in Shihu's hand was burning with blazing flames. His broadsword moved downwards, and the flames on the blade came out. The broadsword condensed by the flames struck Lu Chen. At the critical moment, the stone statue holding the giant hammer raised the stone hammer in his hand and intercepted the flames. The giant flame blade hit the stone hammer, and the attack was instantly dispersed, leaving only faint ripples in the air. Shihu's eyes couldn't help but dilate rapidly, and cold sweat flowed from his forehead. These two stone statues were more powerful than he expected, and it was impossible to defeat them. At this moment, Shihu and others had only one thought in their minds, and that was to escape. Lu Chen looked indifferent and said, "The game is over, you can go and die." The dragon and the phoenix are striking. The sound of dragons and phoenixes roaring echoed in the temple. The shadow of the blue ancient dragon rippling with majestic true energy, and the shadow of the phoenix fire swirling with phoenix flames, swept out from Lu Chen's arms, and in an instant, a violent storm swept through the stone temple. The strong wind, that domineering power, distorted the space in the temple. In the sky above the temple, indescribable waves of true energy rippled, and endless fear emerged in Shihu's eyes. He transferred all the true energy in his body, pushed his speed to the extreme, and shot towards the outside of the temple. The consciousness in Shihu's mind told him that if he didn't run away, he would definitely die. When everyone saw this, they also fled in all directions. These two ancient stone statues were not something they could deal with. If they continued like this, their energy would be exhausted sooner or later, and then they would be beaten into a pulp by these two stone statues. Want to run away? It's too late. Kill me with shock. Lu Chen covered it with his hands, and the dragon and phoenix tore apart the space with extremely domineering power and bombarded Shihu's back. Ah! Only a heart-rending wail was heard, and in the billowing smoke and dust raised by the explosion, Shihu fell like a kite with its string broken. From beginning to end, he couldn't understand why he couldn't even do anything to a martial emperor. Has all these years of cultivation been applied to the dog? Shihu's eyes popped out, and he lay on the cracked ground with a depressed expression. He stared at Lu Chen with a fierce gaze and roared, "Damn boy, come down and challenge Grandpa to a duel if you dare." Shihu did not wait for Lu Chen's response. What greeted him was the heavy stone hammer in the hand of the stone statue. In his horrified eyes, the giant hammer in the stone statue's hand fell, and with a loud bang, the hull suddenly sank. There was no sound from under the stone hammer. Shihu is dead. Run! With the cooperation of the two stone statues and Lu Chen, the unlucky warriors who fled were hit in the head by a giant hammer, and the body of the even more unlucky warriors was directly split by the stone axe in the hands of the stone statues, and some even fell into the bottomless cracks. But because they fled in different directions, 2 or 3 fish that slipped through the net were lucky enough to escape from Lu Chen's hands. After Lu Chen finished dealing with the warriors, he landed firmly on the shoulders of the giant axe stone statue. He glanced at the motionless 3 people in the distance with his deep eyes, and then used his mind to control the stone statue and walk deeper into the stone hall. Every step the stone statue took made the ancient temple tremble. Lu Chen is not the kind of demon who kills without blinking an eye, and he doesn't bother to care about people who are not hostile to him. Seeing Lu Chen go away gradually, the warrior who handed the stone key to Lu Chen showed deep annoyance and regret in his eyes. The method to activate the stone statue was so simple, but he stupidly handed the stone key to Lu Chen. He clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with evil energy. He should be the owner of the 2 ancient stone statues. As if he sensed something was wrong with that man, the man in green shirt beside him cursed. "Li Junbao, are you looking for death? If you had just exposed a trace of murderous intention in front of him, you would be a cold corpse now." "Brother Han, of course I understand the truth, but we worked so hard to find the stone key to control the giant spirit statue. Do we really want to take advantage of that kid?" The man known as Li Junbao clenched his hands tightly, and his face was pale and weak. Road. In the previous fight with Shihu and others, he had already exhausted all the energy in his body, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that he was at the end of his strength. But human desires are endless. In order to protect himself, Li Junbao gave the stone key to Lu Chen, but now he regrets it. Otherwise, given the state of the 3 of us, do you think it would be possible to snatch the stone key back from him? Thinking of Lu Chen's mysterious and unpredictable strength, the 3 of them couldn't help but feel numb. The aura exuding from Lu Chen's body was definitely that of the mid-stage martial emperor, but he completely abused Shihu, who had already entered the realm of demigods, even 1 against 10. This incredible scene deeply shocked their souls. In the end, Li Junbao couldn't resist the persuasion of the 2 people, and looked angrily at Lu Chen, who had gone deep into the temple, and then left with the other 2. In the modeled ancient stone palace, Every stone wall is carved with lifelike murals. The murals record the story of the barbarians in ancient times who betrayed their covenant, fought a decisive battle with the human race and monsters, and were finally defeated and expelled. Lu Chen looked at the tall stone wall. After thinking for a moment, he murmured to himself, "Is this stone palace built after the Battle of the Holy Ruins?" But this is not that important to Lu Chen. All he needs to do is to find the secrets hidden in the stone palace. The stone hall is very large. The ground paved with ancient rocks has been baptized for thousands of years, leaving indelible traces. The entire stone hall is immersed in the vicissitudes of life. Lu Chen controlled the stone statue and spent an hour walking to the depths of the stone hall. Of course, the reason for his slowness was to decipher the profound meaning of the murals on the stone wall. As Lu Chen expected, it recorded almost the entire process of the Battle of the Holy Ruins, and so on for this last mural. Lu Chen's shocked eyes focused on the mural. What this last mural wanted to express was, Emperor Xuanyuan and many other martial gods sacrificed their own souls to seal the barbarian ancestor who broke through the shackles of martial arts, sealing the barbarian ancestor forever. Inside the artifact Chaos Clock. Lu Chen naturally knew the barbarian ancestor who initiated the War of the Holy Ruins. He was the big boss in the later stages of the plot. After being resurrected by the barbarians, he brought the barbarian soldiers back from the barbaric land and was eventually killed by the two empires. Of course, Chu Feng played an indispensable role in the battle that killed the barbarian ancestor. But these are not the most important. The meaning of the mural is that the chaos bell that seals the barbarian ancestor is now in the realm of the Holy Ruins. At this moment, He Lingxi broke free from the system's space. She shares the same spirit with Lu Chen, and she also sees everything in front of Lu Chen. He Lingxi felt shocked and frowned. Are the murals in this stone palace telling the world that the barbarian ancestor has the possibility of resurrection? The barbarian ancestor was sealed in the chaos bell by Grandpa Xuanyuan. How could he be resurrected? Lu Chen frowned slightly. He Lingxi seemed to know the whole process of the world-destroying battle. But so what? Her spirit body couldn't stop the barbarians from resurrecting their ancestors. He Lingxi sighed quietly in his heart and raised his moon eyebrows slightly. Lu Chen, I think you also understand the meaning of this mural. If the barbarian ancestor is resurrected, all life will be devastated and the ancient martial arts world will surely fall. Then, what does the destruction of life have to do with me? Lu Chen smiled jokingly. He was just a villain. This kind of thing of saving people had nothing to do with him? He Lingxi raised her watery eyes faintly. Why does it have nothing to do with you? Grandpa Xuanyuan and the others sacrificed the soul to seal the barbarian ancestor. If the barbarian ancestor escaped from the Chaos Bell, then Grandpa Xuanyuan and the others did not sacrifice the soul in vain. Lu Chen complained helplessly. So what? What does the life of the world have to do with me? You don't think that a little martial emperor like me can prevent the resurrection of the barbarian ancestor, right? Even Emperor Xuanyuan had to sacrifice his soul to seal the barbarian ancestor. What do you think I can do? He Lingxi bit her red lips with her white teeth, and there was a dark wave in her beautiful eyes. After a few seconds of silence, He Lingxi said, I didn't mean that. I was just worried that if barbarian ancestor broke the seal, the current Guwu, there is no one in the world who can rival him. The current level of true energy in the ancient martial arts world is less than 1/3 of what it was 5,000 years ago, and there are very few powerful warriors at the peak of their powers. Nowadays, the whereabouts of the Chaos Bell that sealed the barbarian ancestor are even more unknown. It would be ridiculous to want to kill the barbarian ancestor. Is this what you should worry about? Even if the sky falls, there will still be tall people holding it up. If the barbarian ancestor is really resurrected, I don't think the powerful warriors of the two empires will ignore it. What you should worry about now is how to condense the body, Lu Chen said lightly. There were ripples in He Lingxi's eyes. Chang's nose wrinkled slightly and she turned away from her head, no longer looking at Lu Chen. Lu Chen always gave her a mature and confident look, with a sure victory in hand. Although she has signed a soul contract with Lu Chen, and they share the same mind and spirit, she always feels that Lu Chen still has some secrets that he has not told her. Huh, this cunning guy. There was a dark black stone tablet next to the mural. There was no text on the stone tablet. Lu Chen should have ignored it, but He Lingxi reminded. Lu Chen, use all your strength to bombard the stone tablet. Lu Chen frowned slightly as he listened to He Lingxi's words. Is there anything extraordinary about this stone tablet? But Lu Chen didn't ask any further questions. He directly gathered the true energy in his body. He clenched his right palm suddenly and shouted loudly, "Dragon and Phoenix strike." The summoned dragon and phoenix phantoms rippled with unparalleled power. The two phantoms swept up a violent storm and kicked up the dust in the temple. The crushing power wrapped around Lu Chen's right fist, and the wind passed by it. Everywhere, space is distorted. The roar of dragons and phoenixes echoed in the stone palace, and the unreserved punch hit the dark black stone tablet hard. Under the gazes of Lu Chen and He Lingxi, the ancient stone tablet glowed with bright white light, rippling with intricate ripples, but after a brief period of brightness, it fell silent again. He Lingxi couldn't help but said, "You idiot, I told you to use your strongest attack. Didn't I remember that you can transform into a dragon? Try again in the state of transforming into a dragon?" Lu Chen lowered his eyes to look at his right fist, then raised his eyes to look at the pitch-black stone tablet. The stone tablet was far harder than he imagined. He thought that the stone tablet would be shattered into powder under his attack, but he just leaving slight ripples on the surface of the stone monument. Lu Chen's expression also became serious. His eyes glowed with white light and then his body began to transform into a dragon. Looking at his sharp dragon claws, Lu Chen once again brewed the true energy in his body. Desolation Rift Claw. A dark and strange light danced on the dragon's claws, and the stone tablet tore away. The dragon's claws hit the stone tablet heavily. Such a fierce attack only left shallow scratches on the stone tablet. Lu Chen originally thought that when it failed, the stone tablet burst into dazzling light. Boom! With a loud noise, the stone wall behind the stone monument flipped over, and two roads that did not exist appeared in front of Lu Chen's eyes. Lu Chen's pupils suddenly expanded. There was a mystery hidden behind this stone temple. He Lingxi nodded with satisfaction. My guess is indeed correct. Only this stone tablet in the stone palace exudes weak zhenqi fluctuations. I think it is a mechanism that controls some secret room. So I asked you to try it, and it actually succeeded. Already. But most people can't open it even if they find it. Not everyone has such brute strength as you. He Lingxi said with some envy as her beautiful eyes looked at Lu Chen's body with dragon characteristics. Even in ancient times, warriors could not awaken the power of dragons casually. I really don't know how Lu Chen did it. Lu Chen turned his gaze slightly, jumped off the shoulders of the giant spirit stone statue, and then walked straight to the space behind the stone palace. Then his pupils suddenly dilated, and he was deeply shocked by the scene inside. In the ancient giant hall, there are 4 stone statues of ancient dragons. The 4 divine dragons are hovering above the giant hall like guardians. The giant dragon's body is filled with majestic true energy, and a faint energy seems to be condensed in the hollow dragon eyes of light. But because they have been dormant for thousands of years, the weak power is not enough to wake up the giant dragon stone statues. Under the huge palace, there are thousands of warriors wearing silver-white armor. They hold silver-white spears in their hands, and they are condensed with overwhelming killing intent. However, there is no life in their eyes, as if they have fallen into silence, and the waves are rippling from their bodies. The terrible feeling of oppression, just staring at it can make one's soul tremble. He Lingxi was also shocked by the scene in front of her. She opened her icy lips and said softly, "These are the soldiers who formed the battle formation. I feel like you are about to get a big deal. If you can find the soldier talisman to command them, these soldiers I will obey your words. If you have some talent, you might be able to become a battle master to gather their fighting spirit." Battle formation division is a very rare profession that can command the army. If the army has strong cohesion, it can even condense a strong fighting spirit unique to the army. In the ancient martial arts world, battle formation masters were as scarce as illusion formation masters and spiritual formation masters. Even if they showed a little bit of talent, the two empires would spend a lot of resources to train them. Mo Yu, whom Lu Chen met before, was a grand master of illusion array masters. If Lu Chen and Ji Shuang hadn't discovered the clues and tricked them into the illusion array, they would most likely have been trapped and died in the illusion array. Lu Chen was shocked, completely shocked. He could actually encounter the legendary battle formation. If he could control these soldiers, then he could run rampant in the holy ruins without any scruples. Lu Chen searched excitedly for a week, but did not find the military talisman in He Lingxi's mouth. Lu Chen refused to give up. He retrieved the stone key from the stone statue outside the huge palace. He wondered whether the stone key that controlled the stone statue could control these soldiers. After trying it, it turns out, it doesn't work. Lu Chen. Wait a moment. He Lingxi's spirit body was wandering among the army. As if he had discovered something, he hurriedly called Lu Chen to stop. Look at the runes on the armor of these soldiers. This is the totem of the dragon. I remember that this totem is Grandpa Xuanyuan's dragon guard. Could it be that these soldiers are the dragon guard? The dragon guard, once the strongest army of the human race, was one of the strongest. Dragon guard. Lu Chen murmured to himself and repeated, if they are the dragon guards commanded by Emperor Xuanyuan, can they be ordered with the Xuanyuan sword? Xuanyuan's sword is the sword of Emperor Xuanyuan. Not long ago, the ancient dragon soul in the Dragon Valley passed on the dragon god to Lu Chen because of Xuanyuan's sword. I wonder if this Xuanyuan sword can replace the military talisman and command the dragon guard. Lu Chen's thoughts moved slightly, and the Xuanyuan sword rippling with Zhongeng's sword chi appeared in his palm. He clenched his fist tightly and raised the Xuanyuan sword. The moment the Xuanyuan sword appeared, the Shenlong guards who had fallen into silence seemed to feel a familiar aura, and overwhelming killing intent condensed from their bodies. Under Lu Chen's shocked gaze, thousands of Shenlong guards knelt on one knee and roared in a low voice. I am willing to charge into battle for the general, even if I die. Although these dragon guards do not have any spiritual intelligence, they can recognize the breath of Xuanyuan's sword. This is such a profound obsession that they cannot forget after 5,000 years. He Lingxi wandered among the Shenlong guards. She felt a strong fighting spirit from these soldiers. She said, the Xuanyuan sword can also command the Shenlong guards. This must be their persistent belief in Grandpa Xuanyuan, so only then did I feel the Xuanyuan sword. But now comes the most serious problem. Shenlongwei has been silent for 5,000 years. Their current strength is barely in the middle of the 4th level martial arts. If they want to gather their fighting spirit, the prerequisite is to restore their strength. Lu Chen looked at He Lingxi faintly and asked, He Lingxi, you should have a way to restore the strength of the dragon guard, right? These dragon guards have the lowest peak strength of the 8th grade demigod, and a third of them have reached the strength of the god of war. They're indeed the most powerful army of the human race. If this army can be restored to its peak, I can't even imagine how strong they are. He Lingxi's beautiful eyes trembled slightly when he heard the words. Chang's nose wrinkled slightly and said, of course I have a way. I just need to refine the spiritual grass and provide them with spiritual liquid, but before you help me condense the body, don't think about it. Lu Chen frowned and said in a cold voice, there are hundreds of millions of spiritual herbs in He Lingxi's Medicine King's Codex. Your spirit body won't be dissipated for a while, so you won't lose anything by giving half to the dragon guard. Don't even think about it. He Lingxi shook her head lightly and refused without hesitation. Why are you so selfish? The corner of Lu Chen's mouth twitched slightly, and he said deceptively, if I don't have enough strength, how can I help you find the ice-fire snake-scale grass? How can I help you reshape your body? But, even if you help the Shenlong guards regain their strength, you will not be able to gather their fighting spirit, and this girl's spiritual grass will be wasted. After you become a battle formation master, you will not be able to restore their strength. Not too late. Well, you help me restore their strength to the 6th grade martial saint, and I can give you 2 more drops of my blood essence every month as compensation for you. How about that? He Lingxi was a little moved. The value of Lu Chen's dragon and phoenix essence and blood was far greater than that of these spiritual herbs. She gritted her teeth slightly and agreed. This is what you said. Don't go back on it. Seeing that He Lingxi agreed, the system panel appeared in front of Lu Chen's eyes. On his attribute panel, the levels of Battle Formation Master, Illusion Formation Master, appeared. According to the description given by the system, there are 5 levels of Battle Masters: Elementary, Intermediate, Advanced, Master, and Grand Master. At present, Lu Chen is not even at the elementary level, but these levels can be improved through destiny points. Lu Chen also spent 100,000 destiny points to advance directly to the Elementary Battle Formation Master. Current destiny value: 0. Feeling the change in Lu Chen's aura, He Lingxi's eyebrows moved slightly and she couldn't help but ask, Lu Chen, what's wrong with you? I seem to hear their souls screaming. Let me lead them to kill all the barbarians. He Lingxi looked at Lu Chen for some reason and didn't say anything. Lu Chen raised the Xuanyuan sword in his hand, and his deep voice echoed in the huge hall. Everyone, please stand up. I will lead you back to the top. In He Lingxi's surprised eyes, The dragon guard seemed to be alive. They stood up and shouted, "I am willing to listen to the general's orders." How? How did you do it? It was your first time contacting the dragon guard. Why did you know them so well and still make them obey your words? Secret. You? He Lingxi bit his red lips with his white teeth and stopped talking to Lu Chen. Then Lu Chen took out the Medicine King's code, and the majestic true energy surged out of Lu Chen's body, and injected the true energy into the Medicine King's code. The Medicine King's code glowed with bright white light, and thousands of Shenlong guards were sucked into the Medicine King's code. The Medicine King's code can not only store spiritual herbs, but also living creatures. Placing the Dragon Guard in the Medicine King's code not only gives them a place, but also allows them to absorb and refine the spiritual herbs. It kills two birds with one stone. Later, Lu Chen put the two giant spirit stone statues into the system's space. These things cannot be exposed easily, lest they lead to death. Although Lu Chen is not afraid, he does not like trouble. Lu Chen lowered his eyes and glanced at the ray of red light on his fingertips, and followed the direction of the red line to look outside the temple. Let's go. Chu Feng has been jumping around for long enough, now it's time to collect his dog dead. On the other side of the holy ruins, Feng Zhu and others appeared outside an ancient pagoda. The ancient pagoda was surrounded by a vast and illusory atmosphere. The modeled ancient pagoda shone with a strange glow. As the holy light surged, the true energy ripples between heaven and earth. The two Mo Ke brothers were not with Feng Zhu at the moment. In order to get back the spiritual grass from Lu Chen, they were looking for traces of Lu Chen in Manmi territory. However, Xu Yingshui and Song Li were still beside Feng Zhu. Their eyes trembled slightly as they looked at the dark red ancient tower. Xu Yingshui's face was still covered with a white gauze, and her cold voice came from under the white gauze. The ancient breath of this ancient pagoda seems to penetrate the void, and the long and ancient voice comes from here. The phoenix eyes stared at the ancient divine tower in this strange space. The tower was filled with ancient rhymes. The ancient magic sound coming from the tower echoed in the minds of several of them. Under the guidance of the sound, they found here. Master, what should we do now? Should we go in? The voice keeps telling me that there is something I want in the ancient pagoda. Xu Feng was filled with enthusiasm, but because of his lack of strength, he did not dare to make decisions without authorization. Whether to enter the ancient pagoda. Song Li, who was beside Xu Yingshui, couldn't help but said, "Jor. Want to go in?" Xu Yingshui looked a little weird, but she didn't say anything. After all, she used to call Feng Zhu that way. But when her husband Song Li said this title, she always felt uncomfortable, as if there were 10,000 ants crawling all over her body, itching uncontrollably.